Morning, everyone. Jess, could you please call the roll?
President Menny-Deeds.
Here.
Regent Vice President Walsh.
Here.
Regent Adams.
Here.
Regent Atwell. Regent Bechtel.
Here.
Regent Bogus. Regent Cologne.
Here.
Regent Jones.
Here.
Regent Klein. Regent Miller.
Here.
Regent Posh. Regent Peterson.
Here.
Regent Rye. Regent Stanton. Regent Tucker. Regent Underly.
Here.
Regent Walks. Regent Weatherly.
Here.
Quorum.
Thank you, Jess. Okay, so I understand we do have some conflicts to deal with this morning. So those regents that wish to declare a conflict, would you please do so now?
Yes, Regent President Menny-Deeds, to avoid the appearance of conflict of interest, I will recuse myself from discussion or voting on the item Business and Finance Committee, N as in Nancy.
Regent Rye. I'm going through the minutes.
Thank you, Joe.
Regent Miller.
To avoid the appearance of conflict of interest, I would like to recuse myself from the discussion on the vote on item N from the Business and Finance Committee.
We're all looking for our, you got to say a letter here. And I know what it is, but I don't know the letters. I'm going to recuse Regent President on the Business and Finance issue committee report and vote on J and K, items J and K.
I also need to recuse myself from the Business and Finance Committee agendas, items J and K.
Got it. I'd also like to recuse myself from Business and Finance Committee, item O.
I would like to recuse myself from item K, assuming that's the Kohler Research Agreement.
That's about enough of that. So when those matters come up, you will be recused and the minutes reflect that from participating and voting on those matters. So let's get to the reports for this morning. I'd call upon Regent Bogus to present the report of the Education Committee.
Thank you, Regent President Menny-Deeds. Kind of long, so I'm going to try to speed talk. At our meeting yesterday, the Education Committee first welcomed Interim Vice President for Academic and Student Affairs, Johannes Britz, who's been very well established in his role for well over a full week by now. We understand he has already connected his printer, joined the Wi-Fi, and learned where the coffee maker is in Van Nuys. So we're very happy for that. In all seriousness, he's provided a helpful report summarizing the work of academic and student affairs over the past year, along with his goals for this next year, and we look forward to working together. We are also glad to welcome new interim provosts at UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, UW-Platteville, and UW-Whitewater. The committee action items, including approval of the April 2022 meeting minutes and degree programs for a UW-Eau Claire Bachelor of Business Administration and Business Communication. This degree would be the first of its kind in the UW system. Students pursuing this major have high impact practice opportunities via course-based community projects, independent and directed studies, and internships. Data suggests that student demand for business communication program would be strong and expanding in the coming years. Next, the UW Green Bay Bachelor of Arts in Sociology and Anthropology. The major will be supported by courses offered as part of the existing minor in Sociology and Anthropology. The proposed program will reinforce a commitment to promote student academic and career success, collaboration across disciplines, and the embracing of community partnerships. It will meet anticipated student demand created in part by the elimination of social science majors such as the BS in Human Development. The UW-Platteville Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering elevates an existing emphasis, and students will be prepared to enter a variety of diverse work environments supporting computers and not only technology, but also manufacturing, government, and research. The Bureau of Labor Statistics shows an expected average growth rate of 18% in the demand for computer software engineers, computer system engineers, network architects, and computer hardware engineers between 2016 and 2026. Next, 3 programs from UW River Falls, a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Management, and Bachelor of Science in Marketing. These will elevate successful options from within the existing Bachelor of Business Administration program. They meet growing demand, and students will complete a capstone strategic management course that includes an online simulation of an industry and business case analysis encompassing several high-impact practices. At UW-Whitewater, a Bachelor of Science in Health and Leadership Studies program will provide a high-quality, transfer-friendly program designed for working allied health professionals. The program includes advising, support, and a year-round curricular pathway. It includes primarily asynchronous online delivery and limited synchronous meetings to strengthen student engagement and retention. The university has established partnerships in this field with regional employers and technical colleges. We approved a liberal arts transfer program for the Associate of Arts and Associate of Science at Southwest Technical College, and the committee also approved a similar WTCS request for an Associate of Arts transfer program at Chippewa Valley Technical College after hearing about the amazing collaboration and flexible opportunities, both for transfers and reverse transfers, that their agreement will create from the chancellors at UW River Falls, UW Stout, UW-Eau Claire, and the CVTC president. It was quite a wonderful presentation. With these approvals, UW system now has a transfer agreement in place with each WTCS institution in the state. We also approved the annual request for funding from the Vilas Trust Fund for UW-Madison, UW-Milwaukee, which this year totaled almost $14 million. It will support scholarships, fellowships, professorships, and special programs in arts and humanities, social sciences, biological sciences, physical sciences, and music. We approved renaming the UW-Milwaukee College of Business as part of their recently updated policies related to definitions of colleges and schools. The shared governance entities at UW-Milwaukee approved a proposal to rename the Lubar School of Business to the Sheldon Lubar College of Business, which does not change its administrative structure. The final business item was our approval of the 2022 report on faculty promotions, tenure, designations, and other changes of status. Each spring, the UW System Office of Academic and Student Affairs compiles data on tenure designations, promotions, and new tenured appointments made at the 13 UW institutions. The names of the more than 400 faculty members who have been newly tenured, promoted, and hired with tenure for academic year 2021-22 are included. I won't read them here today. Regent action is the final step in the lengthy process by which faculty receive tenure. We heard a wonderful host presentation from UW-Milwaukee titled Expanding UWM's Impact, Student-Centric Framework Update, which shared a progress report and a glimpse into the priorities around UWM student success efforts. Building from the discussion we had last month on the impact of COVID-19 on campuses and students, we heard from a panel of senior student affairs officers and a UW student who was very brave about student basic needs and securities and some of the innovative strategies, including leveraging technology and community partnerships to meet these needs and address other gaps. We really look forward to future discussions on the needs of unique student populations. We then heard about the Teach Lead Wisconsin initiative, which was a task force to develop strategies to recruit, diversify, and support Wisconsin teachers and education leaders. The presentation included highlights from the initiative's final report, which describes the challenges in Wisconsin's current teacher recruitment and preparation pipeline and identifies strategic and financial recommendations to address these challenges. And finally, we said goodbye and a huge, huge thank you to the wonderful Associate Vice President, Carlene Van de Sandy. Regent President Many Deeds, this concludes my report, and therefore I move for adoption by the board resolution of C1 through 11, D, and E.
We have a second. Second. Are there any questions? Anything that we need to ask Regent Bogus? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you, Regent Bogus. There are a couple things before we get to the Education Committee resolution. President Rothman has something he'd like to correct.
I just wanted to correct the response that we gave to a question that Regent Rye raised yesterday during the discussion of the budget. As we discussed yesterday, there was $25 million that was allocated by the Evers administration to help facilitate the tuition freeze. The question that Regent Rye asked was, how was that allocated? And I think the answer we provided was that it was allocated consistent with the normal GPR allocation. That was not correct. The way the $25 million was allocated, UW-Madison was capped at $6 million. And then the remainder was allocated to the other universities in a magnitude consistent with their allocation. So under that structure, Madison did not get what it would have normally gotten with the goal of trying to support some of the other campuses. So I apologize, Regent Rye, that we didn't give you the correct answer, and my apologies to the entire board but I did want to clarify that this morning.
President Rothman. Before we go further for the new regents, this is a lot of information and a lot of things that you have to learn about in our process. So don't worry about it. It takes a while. But you'll find that Olivia Woodman sees, I guess it's PowerPoints and her online teaching tools to help you understand your roles is excellent. And you should watch those as you have time to do that. And as you progress through your first year or so of being a regent, you also have your mentors to help you, and any other regents that you would like to contact to talk about these things. You should do that. We all get these materials, we all read them, but the committees take a deep dive into them, and they have the system experts to answer questions at those meetings. And believe me, they are experts. And so when the recommendations are made, you can be assured that they're based upon knowledge gleaned from the experts and from our own studies and discussions. So just wanted to let you know that sometimes I forget that we have new people and we should explain things a little clearer. All right. So with that, Regent Rye, now that you know what your conflicts were today, I want you to give us the report of the Capital Planning and Budget Committee, if you would.
As I knocked everything over as always. So thank you, Regent President Many Deeds. The Capital Planning and Budget Committee met yesterday to consider 7 resolutions, review 2 semi-annual reports, and listen to 2 presentations. UWM's Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administrative Affairs, Robin Van Harpen, spoke about expanding UWM's impact. Facilities matter. The presentation provided a snapshot of UWM's student profile and quickly addressed her presentation title, Why Do Facilities Matter? They matter for student retention, faculty recruitment, and providing modern and interactive learning that students need for employment. She gave updates on projects in construction, like the new chemistry building and the student union, and concluded with a peek into UWM's strategic 2030 action plan that is contemplating strategic consolidation, reduction, or divestment of space that allows for a redirection of operating funds to support education, research, and student success. Melissa Spaddanuda, I got that right this time, Associate Vice Chancellor for Facilities Planning and Management, gave an overview of their 2 top capital budget project priorities, linking them back to the Strategic 2030 Action Plan. One of the more outstanding statistics cited is that there are 2,000 students in the health sciences, not counting nursing. The accompanying video provided a visual story of the various challenges the university must overcome to deliver high-quality education and research opportunities. Senior Associate Vice President Alex Rowe provided the committee with an overview of the 2023 to 29 capital plans project request summary. Her presentation delineated the number, funding, and type of projects submitted received as part of the biennial capital budgeting process. The office received 217 project requests valued at more than $6 billion. Inflationary impacts are not yet addressed in that figure. In short, for the first biennium, the projects requested will only address 17% of the more than 69 million gross square feet of our physical plant. Other details included operating budget impacts and an overview of the current enumeration implementation status. She concluded with an overview of the state of inflation in the capital program, which is trending about 10.3% this year. Biennial capital budget and 6-year plan will be presented to us in August. Following resolutions are item D, consent agenda, which includes 3 real estate items and the all-agency program's 3 projects. The committee approved all of the consent items. The committee considered and approved 2 UW-managed projects on behalf of UW-Madison. Item E, requests authority to finish and design and construct the UW-managed Elvheim Building envelope renovation project for estimated total project costs of $12,094,000 gift grants and funds. This project performs much-needed building envelope maintenance and replaces the sloped and pyramidal skylights to address damage caused by water intrusion. The project also improves the overall integrity of the building envelope. The Wisconsin Historical Society has reviewed the project documents, given that the building is a contributing structure to the Bascom Hill Historic District, and are in general agreement to the design solutions being presented. And item F, requests authority to complete design and to construct the UW-managed wharf buildings 4, 5, and 7 renovation project for an estimated total project cost of $5,900,000 gift grants and funds. The renovated space supports critical research programs such as the Department of Medicine, the Department of Population Health, Alzheimer's Disease Research Center, Population Health Institute, and the Center for Health Disparities Research, whose director, Dr. Amy Kind, is the recipient of National Institutes of Health grant totaling $29 million. Next, for our DOA managed projects, the committee approved item G on behalf of UW-Oshkosh, requesting authority to design and construct the heating plant, chiller, and cooling tower replacement project for an estimated cost of $3,465,000. The project replaces the 450-ton cooling tower for chiller number 3 with a 1,400-ton tower, plus connects it to towers 1 and 2's piping so that chillers can utilize all the towers for better efficiency. After this tower replacement, the total for all 3 chillers will meet the needs of existing facilities. On the behalf of UW Green Bay, the committee discussed and approved item H, granting authority for Brown County to construct a road to be owned and operated by the university, pending approval by the Department of Administration and the State Building Commission. A new 600 lineal foot road will be developed to connect Woodhall Drive and Technology Way, the site of the recent STEM building built by Brown County. Funding and construction of this public road will be managed by Brown County and its Highway Department within its Public Works Division. The project cost is estimated at $300,000 and will be paid for with the remaining funds from the 219 non-state grant used to construct the STEM building. Next, on behalf of UW-Stevens Point, the committee approved item I, granting authority to construct the backup data center and demolish Albertson Hall as part of the Albertson Hall replacement project for an estimated cost of $5,329,000 GFSB. This project constructs a backup data center and telecommunications space in the chemistry biology building so that the existing data center located in Albertson Hall building can be decommissioned prior to demolition of the building. It also demolishes the original Albertson Library to prepare the site for the construction of a new replacement facility. The committee approved item J on behalf of UW River Falls, granting authority to construct the new Science and Technology Innovation Center project for an estimated total cost of $116,730,000. The new 131,300 gross square foot building will be a home for the biology, chemistry, physics, and psychology departments. It'll also provide support for agricultural programs, agricultural education, agricultural science, animal science, crop and soil science, and dairy science. Chancellor Gallo discussed the new and growing partnerships with businesses and industries through collaborative programming, internships, and innovative product development. The new building will feature flexible undergraduate instructional laboratory suites, active learning studios, undergraduate and faculty research spaces, and shared interdisciplinary space. Ms. Rowe listed the various sustainability attributes included in the building's design. Chancellor shared some of the budgetary challenges her institution is managing due to the rising inflation and provided the committee with an update on fundraising efforts underway to meet the enumerated mandate. The committee received 2 semi-annual reports, items L and M, on leasing in the UW solely managed capital program. 6 leases for new space were executed in the last 6 months, and 10 leases were either amended, renewed, or terminated. Since its inception in July of 2015, the UW managed programs has included a total of 117 projects, and the current value of the projects that or have been part of the program is currently at $471,529,124. I move resolutions D1, D2, D3, D4, E, F, G, H, I, and J for approval.
Second. Second. Any discussion, any questions of Regent Rye? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Regent Rye.
My report.
I want to make an addition to my last comment to the new regents about people that you can rely on, and I forgot, I shouldn't have, I apologize to the campuses. The chancellors and their teams are also involved in these matters and presenting and doing the groundwork and can give you the history behind the requests and what has gone on to the point where it's presented. So that addition now concludes my remarks on that. So next, we're going to call upon Regent Peterson to present the report from the most exciting committee in the system, Research, Economic Development, and Innovation Committee. Regent Peterson, please.
Thank you, Regent President Many-Deeds. The READY Committee reviewed and approved the minutes of the April 7th meeting. Our first presentation was on the impact of innovative partnerships at UWM. Our program began with a highly informative and wide-ranging update of our host campus. The UWM presenter team, led by Senior Executive Director Jennifer Abley, outlined a series of high-profile initiatives introduced in recent years to highlight UWM's groundbreaking efforts to connect classrooms to the workforce and university-developed research to the market. These efforts include the Connected Systems Institute with partners such as Rockwell and Microsoft and the Northwestern Mutual Data Science Institute. We also learned about a series of innovative diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives which actively encourage increased purchasing from underserved communities and the hiring of diverse UWM student talent with Milwaukee employers. We were also highly impressed with the update on the Milwaukee Anchor Collaborative, which is working with more than 50 companies on a pilot program to provide paid internships for students who live and work in underserved zip codes throughout the region. The hope is that this innovative proof of concept initiative will set the stage for a broad expansion of similar initiatives at UWM and across the UW system. Next we heard from UW Stout Chancellor Catherine Frank, her provost Glenda Lee Rodriguez, and two business leaders who are alumni of the university and run a successful construction contracting business based in Menominee Falls. UW Stout's unique structure as the state's only polytechnic, along with its mission-driven attention to external stakeholder priorities, helps to facilitate external engagement. The institution's, get this, 98.4% placement rate at graduation is unsurpassed in both the UW system and among the Wisconsin technical colleges. 98.4% placement rate. Recent data from the National Association for Career Mobility Survey also shows that UW Stout is a leader nationally in areas connected with career placement and alumni satisfaction. As a polytechnic, Stout's educational framework across all majors results in graduates equipped with a career-focused education which occurs through applied learning and active collaboration with business partners. Chancellor Frank also presented a first destination report issued by Stout in 1937, long before most other institutions were thinking about career placements. Provost Rodriguez described Stout's experiential learning approach, which puts industry experienced professors in the classroom and places students into business settings early in their career. The provost herself is a registered architect, a fact highlighted by one of the other Stout speakers who had taken her class as an undergraduate student several years ago. In our discussion afterwards, Chancellor Frank also highlighted Stout's ability to provide a proper balance of the technical aspects and liberal arts courses through the polytechnic education process. This blended approach ensures Stout's graduates hone their soft skills, their critical thinking abilities, and their leadership skills, which are highly sought by employers. UW Stout's Focus 2030 strategic plan includes the goal of producing triple threat graduates, students who graduate with a degree, experiential learning, and a professional certification. In closing, I would like to commend both UWM and UW Stout for their forward-thinking, collaborative approach to education and business outreach. In fact, these two campuses are working together on some of the initiatives they discussed with us at Ready. We are encouraged to see this type of cross-functional, cross-organizational behavior now more frequently becoming the norm and not the exception across the UW system. Kudos to all their efforts in this regard. Regent President Manny Deeds, this concludes my report.
Thank you, Regent Peterson. I would like to call upon Regent Weatherly, is fortified by his traditional McDonald's breakfast, to present a report from the Audit Committee.
Thank you, Regent President. The Audit Committee met yesterday morning. Chief Audit Executive Lori Stortz reviewed the progress to date on the fiscal year 2022 audit plan. She confirmed that her office is making anticipated progress on the plan and expects to bring more reports to the committee in August. Ms. Stortz then provided a high-level summary of the results of the recent audits issued by the Office of Internal Audit since we last met in April. She included executive summaries of the engagement and management of independent contractors, information security, program accountability, phase 2, information technology disaster recovery backups, phase 2, and internal assessment of the internal assessment of the Office of Internal Audit. Overall, she states the results were excellent and she is pleased with the responses from management. Ms. Stortz also discussed the results of the report of self-assessment and quality assurance and improvement program. After that, Ms. Stortz presented the proposed fiscal year 2023 audit plan, which was approved unanimously by the Audit Committee. Lastly, Ms. Stortz reaffirmed the independent statements for the Office of Internal Audit. Then, Paige Smith presented a report of the Chief Compliance Officer. She highlighted the significant accomplishments they have made and touched on the goals for fiscal year 2023. The Regents asked Ms. Smith to provide periodic updates on how the implementation of the youth protection policy is proceeding. Ms. Stortz concluded by providing an update on the UW system administrative financial misconduct policies and procedure, which is excellent. And if I could add extemporaneously, as we approach the end of the fiscal year, I just want to take a moment to thank Lori Stortz, Paige Smith, and Katie Ignatowski, and all of their teams for the support, not only of me, but also of the other committee members this year. It's very much appreciated. I move to approve Resolution D3, the fiscal year 2023 audit plan. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Second. Any questions of Regent Weatherly? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Regent Weatherly. Now, I call upon Regent Bechtel to present a report from almost neck and neck, but slightly ahead of the Education Committee for being the busiest committee, the Business and Finance Committee. Could you please give us your report?
You were busy indeed, Ed, and good morning, colleagues. There's going to be 13 items that will move for approval at the end of this report. First, the committee heard a presentation from our host campus. Vice Chancellor Robin Van Harpen detailed how, in the face of inflation-adjusted reductions in state support and tuition revenue, so with those declines, UW-Milwaukee's focus on student success initiatives has led to steady improvements in educational outcomes, including graduation rates. In order to support UWM's dual and unique mission of access and research, UWM is urging additional investment in student financial aid, student support services, and research and innovation activities. Next, UW-Milwaukee proposed a newly negotiated agreement with AT&T, allowing for continued rooftop placement of its equipment at Bolton Hall, with an increase in the license fee paid to UWM. This is a 5-year agreement. There are additional renewable terms. The total value is likely to exceed $1 million. The committee voted in favor. The committee then approved a series of contracts presented by the UW system. The first was a $1.3 million service agreement with Barry Dunn, McNeil, and Parker. This is for quality assurance services to ensure that implementation of the Workday software associated with the administrative transformation project is done properly, on time, and on budget. Next was an amendment to a service agreement with Huron Consulting. We've heard about this one before, to implement the Workday software for ATP, the Administrative Transformation Project. This will be at a cost of $187,000. Prism Analytics module will be added to the current scope of work. This will facilitate the extraction, modeling, and export of data from the Workday platform for use in data analytics. So the systems are basically talking to each other and there's a better transfer of information. The final UW system contract was with Qualtrics, to provide an enterprise survey tool that will replace a current product expiring at the end of the month. This survey tool will be available for use by all UW system institutions. It's to be utilized by general academic users, institutional researchers, and partnerships with non-academic entities conducting university-related work. The contract cost $1.3 million over an initial 3-year term. The committee then approved an addition to the strategic plan for major IT projects. As you know, we review these periodically. It's a very significant part of our budget, but we look at it frequently in our committee. The enterprise analytics platform will establish a data analytics infrastructure that will enable participating institutions to integrate HR data, financial data, student data, and other local data sets to significantly improve data-informed decision-making, not unlike some of the things that Regent Atwell has been talking about. A contract executing this work will be presented for approval at a future meeting. Next, the committee approved a series of contracts presented by UW-Madison. One was for a pretty significant earned revenue opportunity. There were 3 significant research contracts. And again, we applaud UW-Madison for continuing to seek and secure revenue-generating contracts and joint research agreements with industry. They lead the system in these initiatives, and we applaud them for that. The first is with Foremost Farms, extending a long relationship with the university for the purchase of daily shortages and the sale of excess milk produced by the College of Agricultural and Life Sciences and used for research and instructional purposes by multiple campus units. This is a 5-year contract where the annual net revenues will be over $5 million, so selling excess milk. Next, the committee approved a 5-year renewable master research agreement with the Kohler Company. This agreement covers sponsored research projects ranging from materials research, water quality monitoring, smart manufacturing, and diagnostic capacities. This will be primarily with the College of Engineering. Next was an amendment to a current service agreement that increases the project budget to $1.2 million, which necessitates our board approval. This is with Valo Health, and it's to obtain services of the UW-Madison Reading Center in evaluating retinal images in support of a clinical trial aimed at treating various ophthalmological diseases. The committee then approved a 5-year master service agreement with the Eames Company, a contract research organization working on behalf of the National Eye Institute to conduct clinical trial services, again, related to retinal disease. The UW-Madison Reading Center, again, will be a key partner under this agreement, having worked with the organization previously in providing services related to the evaluation of these retinal images. The last of the UW-Madisons was with Oracle for its Exadata database system, which provides the computing infrastructure for the enterprise resource planning systems utilized by the UW system. This 4-year contract will reduce UW-Madison's annual expense from $1.2 million to $940,000, with terms that anticipate and support the future transition to Workday, again, as part of our ATP. Next, the committee approved an exception to the Regent policy regarding unendowed gifts to the university to allow for the partial expenditure of principal of Comprehensive Cancer Center discretionary fund. This action allows the use of $1 million towards the purchase of a proton therapy device for cancer treatment at the Carbone Cancer Center. And Regent Jones noted as our liaison to the health and medical system that this is very important to the UW Health and Hospital. The committee then approved the continuation of tuition for Illinois residents at a rate equivalent to the Midwest Student Exchange Program. This is a multi-state tuition reciprocity program in which students are charged no more than 150% of the resident tuition rate for selected programs. So this targets Illinois students to give them a lower tuition rate to encourage them to come to the UW system. And we know that this is very much used at UW-Milwaukee, UW-Whitewater, Parkside, and a few other institutions. So it's, again, a magnet for those Illinois students to come here and hopefully earn their degrees and then become part of our talent pipeline and happy residents in Wisconsin. Next, the committee approved revisions to RPD 13-1, governing contract approval, signature authority, and reporting. This is kind of in the weeds, but it's an important issue. The amendment clarifies signature authority and establishes reasonable thresholds at which the authority for certain contracts is delegated to the chancellors or system president. This increases operational efficiency while maintaining the role of our board in providing financial oversight. And I would note on this one, I think it was Rob Kramer and I got an email on Chancellor Blank's last day. I think it was about 3:45 in the afternoon, urging us to support this measure, and then also suggesting some revisions, which we took account of and made those revisions. So Chancellor Blank, I know you're watching live. Not really. We do appreciate your continued oversight of this board as we do our work. Lastly, Vice President Nelson gave a brief update on COVID-19's impact on the UW system. He noted that over $800 million in pandemic-related expenses and revenue losses have been partially offset by federal relief funds, resulting in a total impact on UW system of $210 million through March 2022. And with that, and in conclusion, on behalf of the Business and Finance Committee, I now move for approval of agenda items E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and Q.
Any questions or discussions on any of those matters? See how busy they were? So all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you, Regent Bechtel. All right, so I think now we're at that time in the meeting at UW-Milwaukee where we turn our attention to athletics. For the benefit of our new colleagues, since 2012, the Board of Regents has called upon UW institutions that participate in NCAA Division I athletics to provide an annual update to the board regarding academic, fiscal, and compliance matters. The UW system has 3 institutions with Division I athletic programs: UW-Madison, UW-Green Bay, and UW-Milwaukee. Today, we'll hear a presentation from Panther Nation Athletic Director Amanda Braun. Here to introduce A.D. Braun is Chancellor Monty.
Thank you, Regent President Manny Deeds. It's an honor to be able to present our athletic leadership team here today, or at least a great subset of them. And I'll just do a quick introduction of our athletic director, Amanda Braun. Amanda's really got a great platform of strengths for many, many reasons. I'll just touch upon a few. She has really created a culture of winning. It's about performance in the academic environment because of their student athletes, but also performance in any competitive setting. So it's really cool in terms of what we've accomplished, and really proud of how many consecutive semesters of great achievements that you'll hear about. Her administrative and budgetary prowess, she inherited an athletic department that had 4 athletic directors in the decade before her that had run a significant budgetary deficit, as you have noted, Regents, many a time. She has brought a balanced budget, and we've really worked that deficit down in very, very impressive ways. So that's the second. And third, in terms of her leadership nationally at the NCAA and also in the Horizon League, specific requests that she's done great work with, and really is a great representative of our campus. And finally, philanthropically, we've never achieved the results, including a recent additional $1 million gift from a multi-million-dollar donor. So great results. You're going to hear a great presentation. Amanda?
Thank you, Mark. Is this on? Can you all hear me? Okay, there we go. This. Well, I appreciate that very much. Also your leadership. particularly the last few years. Chancellor Mone has been really, really helpful as we've struggled through some difficult times. Vice Chancellor Kelly Haig also, I owe a great deal to. So grateful for the opportunity to be here once again and share some great news about Panther athletics here at UWM. As we continue to advance beyond what we hope were the worst stages of the pandemic and the disruption that it caused, I'm incredibly proud of the resilience of our student athletes, coaches, and staff, and want to share a little bit of the highlights from this past year with you. Always start with academics. That is why our students are here. And academically, our student athletes continue to perform at a very high level, as Chancellor Mone referenced. I'm grateful for our coaches, for the wonderful student athletes that they select and recruit. They are truly intent upon getting a meaningful education and a degree and moving on beyond our campus to a career path. The numbers speak for themselves. You can see here on the slide. There is a couple corrections. We're now at 44 consecutive semesters of a 3.0 and 15 of a 3.2 collectively across our student athletes. And we joke with them that that streak is older than most of our student athletes now. So that's really exciting to report. We're also very well represented throughout the university and the schools and colleges. There's a sampling there of some significant numbers of enrollment in the various programs. Over the past several years, we've ramped up our efforts to support our student athletes outside of the classroom, and particularly in the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and mental health. In addition to honoring diversity in all forms through events and programming in our department, we've also used a facilitator to assist us with important conversations and trainings for our student athletes and staff. And just last week, this is a fun initiative we're doing. We kicked off a Women of Milwaukee Athletics series of interviews celebrating 50 years of Title IX. Those of you who are familiar with that educational federal law. You can find it on our website or social media channels. It's really cool because our current female student athletes actually conduct the interviews of administrators. We brought back some former women's coaches, and they tell some really good stories. And for me, it's an effort. We're going to continue this beyond the Title IX celebration, creating our own content and distributing it on behalf of our female student athletes, because media coverage, as many of you know, for women's sports is not very good at all. In fact, I think it gets an F grade in most assessments. So we're going to do what we can to highlight our student athletes, our female student athletes in our women's sports. Competitive excellence, nearly all of our teams continue to compete for Horizon League championships and postseason competition in most years. You can see on this slide just a sampling from this past year. And given all that our student athletes, coaches, and staff have had to deal with, I'm especially proud of how they've demonstrated resilience and honestly really support for one another. And we've got two of our head coaches here today that they are always talking with each other and supporting one another, and that trickles down to our student athletes. So something I'm really proud of, and certainly a reason why we've continued to compete at a high level. Our visibility engagement within the community, pandemic made it much more difficult to do that. We did find some ways, but this past year we were able to get out on campus in the community more and volunteer. So we were over 2,000 hours of service across all of our sport programs again this year. A couple of facilities highlights. We completed our first full season of baseball in the new stadium in Franklin and see a lot of potential there in engaging with that community. We have a lot of alumni in the Franklin and Oak Creek communities, and just having our team in that area really gives some visibility for UWM in that part of Southeast Wisconsin and greater Milwaukee. And then construction of the Orthopedic Hospital of Wisconsin Center is well underway. Right outside our windows every day, we hear the noise and are grateful for it. If you haven't had a chance, go drive down Downer Avenue. It's going to be a wonderful facility. It will have significant impact on our basketball programs, but also our club sports and recreation programs as well on our campus. Chancellor Mone mentioned it. One of our primary goals is to do all we can to generate external revenue to support our student athletes and our programs. As you can see on the slide here, we've made a great deal of progress over the past 10 years as we've needed to. This year we are on track to exceed last year's total donations, and a few weeks ago, as Chancellor mentioned, we did receive $1 million pledge from an alumnus, Fred Sitzberger, a very, very proud Panther and a very generous human being. In addition to our fundraise revenue, we've made some real progress in our corporate sponsorship revenue, and we're named for the second year in a row Learfield Sponsorship Property of the Year. And what's encouraging in particular is that happened during a staff transition. There were 2 different general managers for us as a Learfield property, and we received that award in both of those years. So we believe there's even more room for growth, considering a lot of that happened during the pandemic as well. So while sharing success with slides might be somewhat interesting to you all, I know you've had a long couple of days, I will conclude and introduce a couple of my teammates in athletics here. And I'll start with our women's basketball head coach, Kyle Recklitz. Coach Recklitz has made the Milwaukee women's basketball program her own in her 10 seasons. Can you believe that? 10 seasons on the bench. The 2016 Horizon League Coach of the Year, Coach Recklitz has recorded over 150 career victories, which includes 321 seasons, the most in Milwaukee's Division I history for women's basketball. And Coach Recklitz is also a very tireless leader and mentor for her student athletes. And she recruits some incredibly impressive women to her team. Coach Recklitz. You know what? Why don't I introduce Bart too? And then you guys, do you want to make it conversational? Would that be okay? Or do you want to present? Let me introduce Bart and I'll come join you. How's that sound? Yeah, you're going to tell me no, right? Okay. So, all right. So I'll introduce Coach Lundy. Just 3 months ago, Bart Lundy became the 8th men's basketball head coach in our Division I history. Coach Lundy has been very busy making the rounds in the local media and sports scenes around town. 3 first pitches, right? Panthers, the Brewers, and the Milkmen. So people will start thinking you're our baseball coach soon, unless they've seen you throw those pitches, and then they might know. So this past season, Coach took his Queens University program to the NCAA tournament for the 7th year in a row, peaking at number 4 in the Division II national poll. Overall, in 9 years, he led Queens to 4 Elite 8 appearances, 9 total NCAA tournament berths, 6 conference regular season titles, and 3 conference tournament titles. He's compiled a career coaching record of 429 and 190 in his 20 seasons as a head coach in Division I and Division II. We are really happy to have Coach Lundy join the Panther family. Now, you can go.
First of all, I just want to say thank you for allowing us to be here. This is a big moment for us. When we walked in, we were kind of in awe of the setup. It's very, very neat to be here. So I have been here 10 years, and so I've been really fortunate to kind of see the impact that athletics can make into a community. And being that we're right here, you know, in the center of Milwaukee really gives us a great platform and gives our student athletes a great platform. So as much as we talk about the student athlete side, I think the person side is missed a lot when they talk about NCAA student athletes. I think they've missed the mark on that a little bit. And so culturally, I know our team really tries to focus on that side of things. Obviously, the athlete part is very important to us. 2 years ago, we won a championship, a Horizon League championship, had some great wins over some Big Ten opponents, including in-state rival Wisconsin, which is always a big one. But the student part is very important too. Our team just finished with a 3.639 GPA this last semester. We have nursing students, engineering students, education. But the great thing is to see when they go on and graduate that many of those athletes are still now living in the Milwaukee community and making impacts as alumni. And they're always willing to come back and volunteer. And I think that's based off of the culture that we've created through our program of service hours. 4 out of the last 6 years, our women's basketball program has won the Milwaukee Athletics Community Service Award by putting more hours into the community than any other team. It's something we really pride ourselves on. And we do a lot from everything from going to help with houses to reading at schools. And then as of late, we've been doing a lot on the diversity side of things. I'm a big proponent of the educational side of that. And so we've been spending a lot of time really educating our student athletes, especially during like Black History Month. We also have a young woman who's from Israel. So we've been doing a lot of cultural stuff about Israel, trying to learn that cultural side of things so that then when they go out into the community, they're more educated. So feel very fortunate to be able to be a part of the Wisconsin system. I actually graduated from Madison, left for a while, and then came back, and this is home to me now, Milwaukee. So thank you for having me.
Good morning. I'm from the South, so I asked for a translator, but I guess it was too late. You have to bear with me. I've been on the job, I think, 89 days now. In 89 days, we've had 16 official visits, an unofficial visit today. So it's been a lot. My family will be here in July, July 1. Probably good that they didn't have to suffer through the last 89 days as we try to put the program in a good position. But we're here, and I came to Milwaukee through Amanda, Chancellor Mone, and they've given me this opportunity. But to me, I've won a lot of games. I've coached a long time. Significance to me is not just winning basketball games, but it's the impact that our program can make in this community, in this state, in this region. And we will roll up our sleeves and we will dig into issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion, racial reconciliation. We will try to help the children of our community. And, you know, it's just a basketball team. But really, that is significance to me. It's significant to me to see my staff move on and progress, players move on and progress. And we're gonna try to win a lot of games. And because you have to win to have a platform, and you have to, you know, people have to, you know, pin their ears back and say, oh, you know, Steve Kerr is talking. If Steve Kerr was losing a bunch of games, I'm not sure he would have the voice that he has. So it is more than a basketball team that we're trying to build, as Coach has already done over the last 10 years. And we're gonna, like Fred Flintstone, pedal that thing until we get there. Thanks for having me, and I think we can take some questions.
Regents.
Thank you for coming today and reporting. I'm wondering if any of you can address some of the changes that are happening in college athletics with regard to students being able to cut deals for promotion using their name. How do you see any of that coming up for you here at UW-M?
Yes, the name, image, likeness is a really, there we go. The name, image, likeness is something that is being talked about on every campus. It's actually on a lot of television shows now. I don't know if you probably don't have the time with how busy you guys are, but our team talks a lot about this show called All American that's out. And it's a huge part of what's going on in that, which is also then flooding these student athletes with ideas of the name, image, likeness. And the really neat thing is that we have an athletic department that's very aware, administrators who are very aware, and they're doing everything they can to support the student athletes while doing it the right way, like through the NCAA rules. And so they've been working on getting some companies in the door to try to educate the student athletes as much as possible as to how to use that to benefit them and not let it to be a deterrent, because it can also be a big distraction. You know, it can't, I think, you know, being at Milwaukee, and that's not really what we're for. We're kind of known for like the grind and the, you know, like hard work. And it's not about like the showboat. And so trying to like find their own niche, I think, is very important. But I think it's done through the educational process. And like I said, I know Amanda has been working really hard with some people in our department to try to make sure that our athletes are prepared for that next step.
That was good. I don't know if we're trying to wade through it. I've been doing this a long time, and I think Amanda and I are on the same page. We just want to kind of see where this goes. It's funny, I'm flying back to Charlotte tonight, and I speak at the Jay Billis camp tomorrow. And if any of you know, Jay Billis has kind of stirred this pot for a long time. He's an ESPN announcer. But you know, there are aspects to this that are really good. You know, we do have in college athletics a workforce that it's the only workforce in America that wasn't being paid. You know, so that is, that has.
Have to
mesh
say
somehow.
correct you on that because no one at this table except for these folks are being paid. Sorry to interrupt, but.
I want to have Jay start tweeting out about you guys. Let's get this changed. So it's going to be reality in some form or fashion. We want to, tread lightly. Right now, we are recruiting student athletes who want an education and a great athletic experience. We have companies that can provide a platform for them. It's good in the aspect that they are learning that they have their own personal brand. And so as far as being a life lesson moving forward, now you're going to hear crazy stories about what's happening all over the country. That's not happening in our athletic department. So I think we're taking a responsible approach.
I have a comment. I want to congratulate you, AD Braun, on the financial end of things. Great work. I know that was a concern of Regents in past years. Glad to see that that's been straightened out. Thank you very much. Coaches, you mentioned that the athletes are also students in engineering and nursing, and those are demanding, as are other majors. Do you find that you're able to adjust your practice schedules and accommodate those people who are there first, I believe, for their education, at least on this campus? Has that been a problem? Is it hard to work around? Tell us what happens.
I don't think Coach Lundy has run a full practice in season yet, so I'll take this one. So I actually have 2 nursing students. It's probably the hardest major on campus in terms of the time commitment with their clinical based, especially once they get into their junior and senior year. And for me, I've just adapted because at the end of the day, our job is to bring in student athletes, and this is a tool, like getting their education is a tool for them for the rest of their life. It's really kind of the stepping stone to leading to their future. And so for me to say, we've actually had student athletes transfer to us because coaches have said, you're not allowed to major in that and be a part of our team. I'm kind of an open door. For me, it's, this is 4 to 5 years. We've actually had some for 6 because of that extra year that they were able to get. Those students are able to get their masters right now, which is, we've got some first generation college students on our team that are now first generation master's students, which is a pretty big deal. So for me, we have a lot of students that miss practice. I think that the new practice facility will help with that, will allow us some new slot time opportunities to be able to get in and practice with our teams at different hours. But I would say every single day, I probably have 75 to 80% of my student athletes on the floor, which I'm okay with because they're doing what they love. Sometimes they actually need that break from basketball and they come back a little bit more refreshed the next day. But it takes a lot of commitment on their part as students because then they have to come in outside of the team, watch a little bit more film, get their own workout in. So especially our nursing students, they usually go from about 7:30 in the morning with their clinicals till 4:30. Then they're in the gym from 4:30 until 6:30 or 7. And they're just they're on repeat with that. So it takes a lot of courage for them to say, this is what I want to do, and time management to be able to do that. So we do have a lot of players that miss practice because of that. And as far as I'm concerned, it's about their education first.
Thanks for being flexible.
I'll weigh in on that also. Thank you, Kyle. It was really a great example, and her program is one of many who accommodate our students in that way. But I also give a lot of credit to our faculty here. They're really accommodating for our student athletes. They understand what's required of them in some form or fashion and value our student athletes. And I think in large part because of the type of students that we bring in. But it's a partnership and a collaboration with the academic side.
I could just say one more thing. We actually do a school day game every year where you invite the Milwaukee community, especially the MPS schools, in for a free game. It's like a field trip day. And during that time, all of the departments actually set up tables like nursing and education, and then these public school students get to walk around and get to meet every like kind of like school or college to try to gain some knowledge to see if it's something that maybe they would want to go into. And like Amanda said, it's because of these relationships that we've built. I mean, we have nursing professors at our games all the time cheering for our student athletes because they've built such strong relationships with our students.
Thank you for that great work. Regent Rye.
First of all, I really do appreciate your perspective and your approach to the NIL issue. I think this is not going to be something that doesn't come back to us at some point at Regents, where a conversation or an article comes out. So I guess my request to President Rothman, going forward, as we do receive these reports on Division I, I think some component of what's going on with the university statistically with NIL, players participating, whatever I guess we can learn and understand the impact on our 3 Division I programs that we have oversight to. And once again, I really do appreciate UWM's perspective and openness, especially from the coaches on the issue, because I know that's anything, you don't need one more distraction. And NIL is going to be one going forward. But more importantly, I think as a board with oversight duties and compliance duties, it would be great to get some sort of report from the 3D1s annually around the issue. Thank you.
Idea. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
Great jacket, by the way.
Regent Rye, we certainly could have spent an hour talking to you about NIL, and the Alston, the Supreme Court decision from last summer is very impactful as well. There's a lot going on, and Chancellor Mone knows it being a leadership role within our league. So it would be worthwhile probably for you to learn as much as you can.
Thank you very much for the presentation. We appreciate it. Thank you. Keep up the good work. All right, next on our agenda is the Board of Regents Academic Staff Excellence Awards, an opportunity to recognize the outstanding work being done by academic staff across the UW system. There are more than 14,000 academic staff throughout the UW system, the university's largest sector of employees. To lead us in the awards presentation, I'll turn the floor over to Chair of the Awards Selection Committee, Regent John Miller.
It is with great pleasure that we welcome here today our distinguished guests, the recipients of the 2022 Regents Academic Staff Excellence Awards. We also welcome their families, friends, and colleagues who are joining us for this award presentation today in person and virtually. With these awards, we, the Board of Regents, salute the hard work, dedication, and innovative thinking of our talented academic staff members. We are honored to recognize 2 individuals in a program that have helped their respective universities provide stellar services to educational programs to our university students. The tireless work of these recipients, along with the work of academic staff system-wide, helps to strengthen and invigorate not only our universities, but the broader communities in which they serve. If anyone wants to learn a little bit more about our award winners, I invite you to check out their profiles on the Board of Regents website. I would like to thank my fellow Regents on the selection committee, Regents Bob Atwell, Amy Bogus, and Rodney Pash. All of today's award recipients are impressive examples of the powerful impact that outstanding academic staff have on their students' lives. We look forward to hearing from each one of them in a few moments. Before we present this year's award winners, however, I would like to acknowledge the other nominees by reading their names and institutions. Individual nominees included Kay Voss, UW-Grebe, Mitchell Hayes, UW-Madison, Giovanna Gutierrez, UW-Parkside, Paul Erickson, UW-Platteville, Dr. Helen Luce, UW-Stevens Point, Angela Rupi, UW-Stout, Harry Anderson, UW-Superior, and Krista Kim, UW-Whitewater. Program nominees included UW-Green Bay Student Accessibility Services and UW-Madison's Teach Online at UW. On behalf of our committee, I want to thank all the nominees for taking the time to submit materials and for their important contributions. My colleagues on the Regent Selection Committee will now each introduce one of this year's award recipients. Each recipient will then have the opportunity to make brief remarks. Regent Amy Boguth will introduce our first award.
Thank you, Regent Miller. It is my privilege to present the first 2022 Board of Regents Academic Staff Excellence Award in the individual category to Robin Jens, Assistant Dean of Student Services for the College of Nursing and Interim Student Service Director of UW-Milwaukee's Zilber School of Public Health. Ms. Jens has worked at UW-Milwaukee for over 16 years as the College of Nursing's Assistant Dean of Student Services. She leads the student affairs staff and oversees the advising, recruiting, and retaining of undergraduate and graduate nursing students. Since November 2020, she has also worked in a similar role for the Zilber School of Public Health. Her approach to her work is described as strategic, practical, and collaborative. For example, she is playing a leadership role in the campus 2030 strategic plan to merge the university's 3 health schools and colleges into 2 colleges. This is a large endeavor where collaboration is key to serving students. Working with the College of Health Sciences, she is helping to facilitate discussions with combined 24 student affairs professionals to identify best practices and establish new teams to serve more than 3,000 students. In another concrete step to meet growing healthcare needs, Ms. Jens recently facilitated developing the nursing program at UW-Milwaukee at Waukesha. There, she identified an opportunity gap for nursing programs in South Central Wisconsin. Her advocacy of the idea and organizational acumen resulted in expanding UWM's nursing program by 32 students in 2021, with an additional 45 students taking prerequisite classes. Somehow, Ms. Jens also finds the time to serve on numerous university committees, including the very important Transfer Pathways Committees and Academic Support and Leadership Committee. Her work with the statewide Wisconsin College Personnel Association has further broadened her considerable network of professional relationships. The College of Nursing Student Services team offered these words to describe our honoree. Robin has a remarkable ability to connect, influence, and build strong relationships with students, faculty, and staff at UWM, within the UW system, and the community at large. She has created an environment in which students feel heard. On that note, I am honored to present our first Academic Staff Excellence Award to Robin Jens of UW-Milwaukee. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Regent Miller and the rest of the committee, thank you so much for that kind introduction. I appreciate that immensely. This whole process has been incredibly humbling, terribly uncomfortable, and but I appreciate your being here and hearing me out a little bit. I'll answer the nursing question and athletics in a little bit as well. We make it work because that's what UWM does. So I am a lover of movies and of the Oscar ceremony, so you're going to get a large thank you before I get into a little bit of my remarks. First is my family. My husband and my son are here. My son actually worked this event. He works for the Peck School of the Arts while he's a student here in the Zilber School of Public Health. My husband is a nurse, a hospice nurse, and a former alum an alum from here. We are proud UW system alumni, and actually, my other son is not here today because he's graduating tomorrow from high school. So I apologize for my brain not being completely connected here. I am trying to figure out how to organize a party for 100 people on Sunday. So anyway, I am blessed with great leaders from the College of Nursing. And if you know academic staff at all, you understand that there is no way that we do our work in isolation. And we really need great leaders in order to do the work that we can do. I have immense respect and support my dean, Kim Litwack, and my associate dean, Jennifer Deering. They care about students. They care about what we do. They care about my staff. They are supportive. They challenge me when necessary. And I have immense respect for them and the work that they do. And it's because of them that they wanted me to do this nomination. So wherever they are, thank you so much for this award and for your support for my staff. The student affairs staff at the College of Nursing is unlike any other. They are the people who I am honored to work with and learn from every day. They challenge me to be a better leader and a manager, and they never let me take myself too seriously. They are my colleagues and my friends. The whole College of Nursing, the faculty there, if you know academic staff, we really are reliant on faculty to give us space and to make sure that we are supporting what they are doing in the classroom, but equally they support what we do outside of the classroom. Academic staff are the people who are working that 14 to 18 hours of the other part of a student's day to make sure that they are successful on our college campuses. I am lucky to be part of the College of Nursing. I planned on being here about 5 years. It's now 17. So, and it's because of them that I stay. In November of 2020, when the pandemic hit and people were leaving, I was lucky enough to fill a role with the Zilber School of Public Health. They have been amazing, and they are still a new school. So that student affairs staff and the leadership there with Amy Harley, they are amazing professionals who do great work, and they work really hard to make sure that they have a space on this campus and in the state. I also am working with colleagues from our College of Health Sciences in order to move this whole area from 3 schools down to 2. It is a lot of work, and it's a challenge, but it's amazing that the team that we have to be able to do this with is unsurpassed. 17 years ago, I left UW-Waukesha. I had only worked there 2.5 years. I had come from UW-Whitewater and Madison, and I started working at UW-Waukesha. And it's the faculty and staff there and the students. They do phenomenal work with no resources, or little resources. It was when I left that role, I realized I needed to get back there in some way, shape, or form, because I think nursing was creating some type of a public institution space between Madison and Milwaukee was necessary for nursing. I wanted to do that, and it took me 16 years to finally get there. So I am so proud of that program, and the faculty and staff that I had worked with in 2005 were the ones who I sat at the table with to create the Waukesha program. It is an honor to work with those students. They work so hard, but I am so grateful that we have a place that's local for them and that they will stay within the Waukesha area because it's where they can kind of achieve all of their goals. But the faculty and staff there, they do amazing things for students and for their community. And we need to do more to promote and assist our colleagues at the smaller campuses. They are vital to our success. So I have many colleagues on this campus. I am so glad that you actually had a chance to hear from Robin Van Arpen. She is amazing. Chancellor Mone, Provost Gonert, and former Provost Johannes. It is really an honor to be here and represent UWM. We are gritty. We are, and when I think about UWM, and I had worked at Madison, and I had worked at Whitewater, and there is something about UWM. It is the work ethic, It is the when challenges face us, we dig in a little bit deeper, we get creative, but we are resource thin. And I beg that you help us out a little bit to be able to do great work beyond Milwaukee and throughout the state. I believe strongly in education. I am a first-generation college student. I come from a family of 7 children. I'm number 6 and the first one to graduate from college, not the last. And my parents were so supportive of our going on to school, but we had very little resources with which to do that. Our world is hurting. Right now, we have attacks on women's reproductive health. We have attacks on climate change. We have attacks with gun violence and racial inequities and disparities. Our trans students are hurting. And so we need to do better. Education is the key to helping. It is the great equalizer. And so whatever we can do to support our education institutions is kind of where I want to live. I need a place where everybody can make a contribution. And as higher ed professionals, we need to work harder and we need to be better to help our students be the leaders that they need to be in this challenging world. I am truly blessed to work alongside so many people who have done great work on this campus and in this state. And thank you so much for this honor. It is really humbling. Thank you.
Our second Academic Staff Excellence Award in the individual category goes to Ann Lawton, whose positions include Violence Prevention Coordinator, Lecturer in Art, and Board Certified Art Therapist, all at UW River Falls. Ms. Lawton has served at UW River Falls since 2011. As Violence Prevention Coordinator, her most recent position, she implements education programs to promote healthy relationships and prevent sexual and intimate partner violence, gender-based violence, stalking, and hazing. Her creative methods to connect with and support students include online programming, outreach installations, and a new violence prevention social media account. Ms. Lawton believes that art has the potential to heal, transform, and empower individuals and communities. Her community art therapy is focused on those impacted by high trauma, including incarcerated individuals, trafficked girls, domestic abuse survivors, including coping with addiction, and neurodivergent children. Examples of her work include a variety of campus community art projects, such as the Empty Place at the Table installation in residence halls for domestic violence awareness, and Paint Yourself in the Community. Ms. Lawton also provides training and outreach for student athletes in compliance with National Collegiate Athletic Association requirements, hazing prevention training for student organizations, care and consent take and make kits for students, and a workshop called Falcon Community Foundations. The workshop brings awareness to the connection between individual and communal accountability concerning healthy relationships and bystander intervention. Her violence prevention work was recognized with the UW River Falls Chancellor's Award for Non-Instructional Academic Staff in 2021. Ms. Lawton credits success of these efforts to her colleagues' continuous support and encouragement, as well as their willingness to try inventive approaches to transform ideas into realities. The provost noted of our honoree, Anne epitomizes excellence and perseverance and is committed to helping students be successful while promoting a caring, healthy campus community. She has found a way to make the hard work of prevention with its heavy subject matter and difficult conversations accessible to all. It is my distinct honor to present our second Academic Staff Excellence Award to Ann Lawton of UW River Falls.
And where's Maria Gallo?
Good morning, everyone. Congratulations to Ms. Jens and Dr. Strombaugh and her UW-Eau team. And thank you to the Board of Regents. I'm delighted to be here. I am grateful, but I must admit I am exhausted. You heard about the work that I do. I must admit and apologize that I need to refer to my notes. Usually I'm an off-the-cuff kind of educator and speaker, but I fear if I don't refer to my notes, 20 minutes from now we'll be elbow deep in an community art project. So please forgive me. I'm going to read off my notes here. But Milwaukee holds a very special place in my heart. Just a few blocks north on East Beverly Road. In the early 1960s, as a child, my father walked to Atwater Elementary School in Shorewood, as my grandfather was in dental school at Marquette, and my late grandmother taught in the Milwaukee Public School District. My brother, Patrick Lawton, here with us today, supporting me in person, is an alumni of UW-Milwaukee and is a dedicated high school history and social studies teacher and soccer coach in our hometown of New London, Wisconsin. While in graduate school, obtaining my master's degree at Mount Mary University, I lived here on the east side of Milwaukee. Dr. Chris Belkoffer, art therapist and professor at Mount Mary, also here with us today, and his daughter Sabina. Chris is a key mentor and advocate in my professional development, in my graduate school studies and beyond, and has been a pivotal influence in how I teach and engage with students. Patrick and Chris, thank you for both being here this morning, for your continued support and being outstanding educators and influences in your communities that you serve. The UW system in public education is basically woven into my DNA. Being that both my parents and nearly all of my extended family have earned degrees from UW system schools. For my grandparents, 3 out of my 4 grandparents, as well as my mother, were public school teachers, and the rest of my extended family were or are in education, public health, or other hardworking jobs serving Wisconsinites in a variety of ways. In fact, my great uncle, Dr. Ben Lawton, was actually on the board of Regents and was president for a short time. So in essence, I was raised with the expectation of whatever gifts, skills, and talents you possess, you serve and help others with tenacity, conviction, and care. I am proud to say that the institution which I currently serve is also the same institution I started my higher education career as a first-year student 19 years ago, UW River Falls. So it's no surprise with my background, legacy, as well as acknowledging my privilege as a cis white female from an upper middle class family, that I'm able to do what I'm able to do here today, and advocating for those who do not have the same privilege. But surrounding myself with others, it would take me, again, another 20 minutes to thank everybody nearly on campus who has supported me. And as introduced in the formal remarks, I'm only here because of the community and those I work with. So I want to say thank you to my husband, Rob, who couldn't be here today, Rob Swanlin, for his love, support, and patience with the work that I do. Chancellor Maria Gallo and Provost David Travis, who are here today, and I'm so delighted that you're here to share this moment with me, for your support of me and for promoting this Regents nomination. Jennifer Larimore, Jacqueline Lee, Nathan Rail Elness, Rachel Ross Farmer, and Katie Niznik, my outstanding colleagues in the UW River Falls Title IX Student Conduct and Violence Prevention Office, my collaborators and co-conspirators that bring creative solutions to light and who positively embolden and match what some would call my strong personality. Dr. Cindy Kernahan, whose mentorship and friendship inspires me to be a better educator every day. My colleagues in the art and psychology departments who fight for me tirelessly to have classes as an adjunct as I continue to teach on contracts that are semester to semester for the past 11 years. Debbie Janis and the staff in Student Health and Counseling Services for embracing and promoting the transformative potential of art therapy for our students, and all the fellow instructional academic staff who serve in the UW system and nationally as well, 64% who require federal assistance to make ends meet. The art part is the easy part of my work, but it's the persistent sheer brutality of being an educator and emotional laborer that is something that I can't easily describe. It's the art that helps me define meaning and understanding when reality is too much and leaves us feeling helpless and disempowered. Let's just say the past 2 years, I've made more art than usual. It's my hope that this prestigious award bestowed on me by the Board of Regents signals their commitment to liberal arts education and the humanities in the UW system. Supporting the arts means supporting communities, being that communities with concentrations in the arts have higher civic engagement, more social cohesion, higher child welfare, and lower poverty rates. And additionally, and perhaps more relevant to this group of people and in the times, students who engage in the arts have higher GPAs, higher standardized test scores, and drumroll please, higher recruitment and retention rates. That's what we're looking for, aren't we? So, regardless of socioeconomic status, I might add. And so to support and fund the arts and humanities is to support our students, our communities, and the Wisconsin idea that education should help solve problems, improve health and quality of life, and influence the lives of these people beyond the boundaries of the classroom. That's why I show up to work every single day. In my letter, which accompanied my nomination for this Regents Award, I remarked, as someone forged in the liberal arts and the Wisconsin idea, when I hear the condescending quip, "What can you do with an arts degree?" To say my students, I hear that all the time. People asking them, "What can you do with an arts degree?" I firmly and proudly answer, "Help and serve others." Please know how grateful I am for this opportunity every day to try, and thank you so much.
Our third Academic Staff Excellence Award goes to the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at UW-Eau. Under the leadership of its director, Dr. Angie Stombaugh, UW-Eau's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning carries out its core mission of supporting teaching and learning through a wide variety of programming informed by research-based best practices. Good. This work includes innovative new faculty orientation, communities of practice focused on classroom needs, and coaching for faculty in novel teaching situations. Recent key contributions of the center include transforming the university's liberal education program and forging collaborations that foster an inclusive learning environment. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the center provided online and individual support to empower faculty to deliver high-quality teaching and learning in a remote format. Staff in the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning collaborate with UW-Eau Claire's McIntyre Library to assist faculty in using open educational resources to reduce costs for students. Staff also help faculty support students with disabilities, including offering remote American Sign Language services. The Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning also recently built a plan to provide all faculty and instructional academic staff with professional development in a transparent design, an approach to enhance student success for all students. In the nomination materials, a colleague described the benefits of the center this way, quote, "For new or early academics, teaching in the classroom is among the most intimidating and anxiety-inducing tasks, and yet a task in which most PhD faculty receive very little training while in their doctoral programs. Center staff are exceptional with early career faculty, providing insight, suggestions, support, and encouragement in a supportive and non-threatening manner," unquote. It is with great pride that I present the 2022 Academic Staff Excellence Award to UW-Eau Claire's Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning, represented today by its director, Dr. Angie Stombaugh. Congratulations.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the award. And we really want to thank the Board of Regents for recognizing our team. Just so you know, every campus has a center for teaching and learning. It might be called something a little bit different. What we do in our centers is we work with all instructors and we work on professional development and teaching, individual consults, but we also work with our faculty to connect them to our students, to our campus, and to the community. So it's not just teaching that we do, but it's a lot of what we do. So for all of you from other campuses, you all have centers. We're fortunate at Eau Claire that we have a large team that is supported. So thank you to our campus. For some of you, you might have a center that's staffed by like a half FTE. And I encourage you to talk to those individuals and ask them what they need, because what we do is create the connections on campuses. We found out even more so when we had the pandemic, which I'll talk about a little bit more. But the individuals on each of these campuses are connected through UW system and OPID. So that is another one. I'm very grateful to UW system for OPID. That is the Office of Professional Instructional Development, and they connect all the centers in the system. This has allowed us to do national initiatives together. This has allowed us during the pandemic to, when we had a generous donation, to push out professional development to each of our unique campuses to address the emergency response teaching that we had to do when everything closed down. So thank you, OPID. I hope system continues that connection, because we're kind of an island by ourselves on our campus, and it's important that we function as a system for many initiatives. I would like to also thank on our campus, our chancellor and our provost for supporting us. One of the biggest things our provost did for us was investing in what we call a teaching academy, which is a 5-day orientation for new instructors. Tenure line, instructional academic staff, adjuncts come 5 days before even going on contract, come to us, they get stipends, and they get to learn good teaching practices, how to be a teacher, since many may have never had formal practices before. Many rely on whatever they saw that they liked as a teacher, but we know our students are changing. We know there are good best practices that you can do to help our students, and that's what we do in that orientation. Over the years, we've had many adjunct faculty, so those who are only teaching a few classes here, say this is the first time they've ever been included in any professional development at the same level as tenure track. So I really appreciate our campus for doing that for our instructors and bringing everyone to the same level, because our adjuncts are often teaching some of those first freshman 100-level courses and are the face of the university, so we should invest in them as well. I'd like to thank our direct bosses over the years. So we've had Dr. Andy Phillips, Dr. Mike Wick, Dr. Mike Carney, Dr. Mary Hoffman, who's here today, who've kind of invested in the idea of, you know what the faculty and students need. You're here, you hear what's going on, you know, and they kind of let us go and do what we need to do. And that has been very valuable to our team, because we do know what's going on. We heard this during the whole pandemic, all the terrible things that people are going through as students and as faculty, and we're still hearing that this last spring semester was actually one of the hardest ones. Even though we all think we're coming out of the pandemic, people are burnt out, people are disengaged, people are still scared and don't know what to do. So although we all want to be back to normal, we're not there yet. And people finish this semester, faculty and students, tired, burnt out, and need a break. So it's not that we're disengaged. We've just been going very hard for the last 2 years, and we need a little break right now. So please be aware, we're all here. We just are tired. So the other people I would like to thank on our campus is all the units that collaborate with us. It's amazing how connected we are. You've heard about from the library, our Students with Disabilities Office, Learning Technology Services. We've been fortunate. Our team is a combo of our center and learning technology people because of close relationships that we have. We also have relationships with our Division of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. And we've been known on our campus then for making connections to help our students. So not silos anymore, we're all together. The other people I would love to thank is our team here that you see. So Cindy Albert, Avonlea Hansen, Tiffany Lewis, Kelly Austin, and Katie Larson. This team makes it all possible. So our team, we were maybe like 2 weeks ahead of the pandemic because we had a faculty who was a month ahead and said, this does not look good, and started talking to us about like, what are we gonna do if we go to emergency? We're like, oh, it'll never happen. But that person triggered us to start having a team where we made triage trees of how we were gonna handle this. We were 2 weeks ahead of the faculty. Everyone thought the whole time we had it completely together. 2 weeks ahead of them together, and we made it happen. And it was because of this team. We all learned different skills, learned what we need to do to help our faculty. And honestly, a lot of the things that we did for our faculty were not teaching during that time. It was a lot of support for our faculty. People had a lot of anxiety, a lot of grief. We did a lot of listening and then helping. The last group I just want to thank is our faculty on campus. They are amazing. Instructors, they are the ones who like provide the joy every day of going to work with what they do. And they help us so much understand where the students are at, how they're feeling, and they come and help us be experts. So although we're receiving this award, it's really for all the instructors and the students and our whole campus, because it's not just us, it's us together. So one last thing, I should probably thank all of our families too, because otherwise they're gonna be mad when they watch this later, but thank you.
Hearing these stories is always so inspiring. Congratulations to everybody. I believe President Rothman would like to say a few words.
I would. Thank you, President Many Deeds. Let me add my congratulations to our Regent Award winners. And I think of Robin and Ann and the entire team at the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning at UW-Eau Claire. Thank you. You are having an enormous impact. I'd like to say how proud I am of your dedication of serving students and the university community. Your family, friends, and colleagues should also be very proud, because I know we are. All around the UW system, there are academic staff members who are making the universities that comprise our system a better place. And we are enormously grateful for your contributions. You are a critical part of bringing added value to a UW degree. Thank you so much.
Here's the plan. We're going to do this next item regarding the calendar or schedule for the upcoming year, and then we're going to take a short break. So at this time, we have to adopt next year's calendar for board meetings. A draft meeting schedule for 2023-2024 has been included in your materials. As a procedural note, the proposed schedule includes a few adjustments that will require suspension of the board's bylaws. First, the regular meeting of the board that would normally be scheduled for April 6th and 7th, 2023 would be moved to March 30th to 31st, out of respect for individuals who intend to observe the Jewish holiday Passover or the Christian holiday Good Friday. The one-day meeting of the board that would normally be scheduled for March 9th, 2023 would be canceled to accommodate moving the April meeting to March. Secondly, the regular meeting of the board that would normally be scheduled for October 10th to the 11th, 2024 would be moved to September 26th and 27th, out of respect for individuals who intend to observe the Jewish holiday Yom Kippur. As a reminder, a suspension of the bylaws requires an affirmative vote of 2/3 of the total members of the board. Regents, may I have a motion to approve resolution 210. Thank you. Second? Any discussion or questions about the reasons for this move? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Motion passes. We're now going to take our promised 10-minute break. 10 minutes.
I think it was at least 10 minutes.
I think you're right.
Do it again.
Like the case.
He changes cases every
Do you
year.
switch your case?
Only when it gets gross. Yeah.
I was afraid you were going to say.
Oh, come on.
All right, at this time, we would like to officially recognize the service, commitment, and contributions of one of our colleagues whose term on the board has ended, Regent Emeritus Corey Saffold. I'd like to invite Regent Kyle Weatherly to present the board's resolution of appreciation for Corey's service to the UW system. Regent Weatherly, please proceed.
This is really quite the honor, but before I get to the whereas, let me start by formally apologizing both Corey and his fiance for canceling on dinner tonight. My many apologies. This is the second time I've done it, so thank you for your patience. I promise we'll figure it out. Now, onto the whereas and what force. Whereas Corey Saffold has served as a dedicated student representative on the University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents from May 2020 to May 2022, and whereas Corey contributed to several standing committees, helping to oversee the UW system's financial well-being as a member of the Business and Finance Committee and offering valuable insights to capital planning and budget committees, and education, and student discipline, and student appeals. And whereas Corey has worked to publicly honor extraordinary UW educators, like we saw earlier today, serving on 2 Regent award committees, teaching excellence and academic staff excellence. And whereas Corey helped select talented, dedicated leaders for the UW system, serving as a 2021 member of the Special Regent Committee for UW River Falls Chancellor Search, and in 2021-22 as a member of both the UW System Presidential Search Committee and Special Regent Committee for the UW System Presidential Search. And whereas Corey has become a member of the Wisconsin Humanities Council Speaking Bureau, using his professional experience as a former Madison police officer and current director of school safety and security for the Verona Area School District to advise statewide constituents on the challenges and opportunities of policing and to facilitate strategies to bridge the gap between communities and police. And whereas Corey is a proud alum of the UW system, having graduated in May from UW-Whitewater with a degree in criminology and previously having graduated from the UW-Odyssey project, a program he found life-changing. And whereas Corey has dedicated himself to creating wide open highways for non-traditional students to attend UW schools and hopes to see the UW-Odyssey project expand as a model to serve at the state as a whole to bring the possibility of college to even more students who want to fulfill their potential and give back to their communities. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin System commends Corey Saffold for his excellent service on behalf of the UW system and the citizens of Wisconsin and wishes him every success in the future.
Short guys on the country. Wait, should I be moving both these?
Yeah, you can get by some wall space.
Right.
Be great in my office. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am very humbled and appreciative and completely grateful for the opportunity to serve on the Board of Regents. It was an absolutely wonderful experience. I was able to meet a lot of great people, learn a lot, and it's just something that I'm going to hold near and dear to my heart. Special thank you to Jess for always making me feel warm and welcome and making the experience very, very easy for me. I really appreciate you and the work that you do for the board. Thank you, Kyle, for your friendship, for your hospitality. Thank you. I thank Regent Emeritus Whitmissy for always being that person I can text during the meeting, be like, hey, what are they talking about? Or kind of give me some insight. And she's an invaluable resource to the board. And thank you, Regent Walsh, for also just being very warm and welcoming. And thank you for your honey. My biscuit intake has greatly increased as a result of your honey. I appreciate it. I thought about what I'd like to say in receiving this recognition. I thought about the years spent as a police officer and going to those calls, those traumatic calls, or those domestics. And I remember a domestic in particular. I went to with a lady that needed help in a very bad situation, and offering all the help I could possibly offer in that moment, only to leave and go do my report, then find a safe place to park and get on my squad computer and get some applied sociology done. Or leave a traffic crash, helping people, and then find another safe place to park and get some, I don't know, some other work or some English done, right? I think about my brother who graduated from UW-Milwaukee. He worked at Briggs and Stratton full time and was able to also get some schoolwork done online, right? And I was able to get some schoolwork done online. I think about Michael Lowe, who, while I was at UW-Whitewater actually over a couple of weeks ago for the graduation, and I was congratulating the students as they were coming across the stage, he said, hey, you don't know me, but I was also part of the Odyssey project. We had our bonding Odyssey moment right there on the stage. And Michael Lowe and I talked a little bit after the graduation, and he began to talk a bit about his journey and how he was incarcerated, but this little lady from UW-Madison made her way to the prison and said, hey, can I talk to you about the allegory of the cave? Sparked his interest, opened his eyes right away, and developed a hunger in him for education. And from there, he continued to, at the moment he was released, he found the Odyssey Project, and he continued to pursue his education. And when I shook his hand coming across that stage, he was receiving his master's in business administration. Right? What an amazing moment to be at a point where you don't have your freedom to a point where education completely frees you, right? And now you could contribute and give back to society. Very powerful moment. You see, education for many of us is the light. It's the light. It's like a switch that once turned on helps us to clearly see, right? Clearly see any barriers in our mind, clearly see any barriers in front of us, and it begins to help us to navigate all of those barriers and help us to navigate life. That's what education does for many of us. And I always say when I speak, if education is the light, then the Odyssey Project is the hand that guided me to the light, that particular program. You see, the Odyssey Project, it provides access in the way that I need it, right? Online programs, when I was working as a police officer and as I work now as a director of crisis management, those are forms of access that I need and that I will continue to need as I continue to pursue my education, because it's not, the end for me. I have other goals as well, and I need those forms of access, and other people need those forms of access. And so why am I saying all of this to you? I want to remind you that the UW system is just that. It's a system. I liken it to, I remember a conversation I had with Jess once, and we were talking, we were comparing the UW system to a machine, right? This big, bulky machine, or I started thinking of it as a train. Like, think of it as this train that was made like in the industrial era, right? Those old locomotives that would take time to get going, right? And this train had a destination, and your best time to board was when it was not moving. The straight destination, there's a begin point and there is an end point. And as you get going on this machine, the machine does not automatically consider access. It has a start point and it has its end point. And once it gets going and once it gets moving, then there are not many exit ramps or many stop points. There are no creative destinations that will include people that may have not been able to get on at its boarding point. And it will go and it will travel through our cities and our urban areas, and it will pass people by. And they will look at awe at this machine as it continues to move in its size and its enormity, but they will be passed by, only able to wave at it as they continue with their life. For whatever reason that might be, it will go and continue on through our rural areas and will pass up those individuals that are preparing for their harvest. And they will look up and they see it and it will just keep passing by, picking up more momentum and more speed as it goes. It does not automatically on its own have the capability to consider access in all of its forms and what that means. The system does not automatically embrace the Wisconsin idea. The Wisconsin idea lives in each of you. The meaning of it, the purpose of it, what's behind it, what you are called to do. This idea lives in you. It's not automatic to the system. You have to be intentional about creating access. You have to be intentional about pushing the Wisconsin idea in all of its forms, in all of its shapes, in all of its passion. It comes with intentionality. One of the things when I first started the board, there was a lot of talk from the NPR about the 600,000 or so individuals with credits but without a degree, right? We remember all of those talks and what can we do to reach these individuals? What can we do? If they're like me, they're probably hungry for education. They're probably looking for ways. They're probably looking for access. And it got to a point where I realized that, the more you talk about an issue without any action to deal with that issue, the more you become numb to the urgency of the issue. And I wonder how many of us over time, we come in here and we do our work and we're busy, right? And we're doing our best and we're opening doors and and through all of it, I wonder, has it come to a point where we just can become numb to the urgency of the issues that we face? And I deem access an urgent issue. So I want to encourage everyone at some point, take a step back from the day-to-day. Take a step back from just getting down into the weeds of everything and really take a look at it and ask yourself, what can I do? What have I been doing? What more can I do to be creative about access on my campus, about access to my community? As board members, what more can I do to support the chancellors as they think about ways to creatively bring access to those members in their community, to that young lady who couldn't finish high school because maybe she got pregnant and needed to take care of her family, to that other person, to that vet that couldn't quite finish, but they're hungry for something, they're looking for something. Give them the access that they need, even if it means tearing down the barriers in their mind and giving the access in their mind, like that allegory of the cave, to give them the confidence that's needed to go, and then remove every single barrier that would be in the way. It's one of the things I loved about the Odyssey Project. If you didn't have food, they would give it to you. We have problems with your living arrangement, we'd make a way, we'll pay some light bills. You needed childcare, we have childcare, that's here. Individuals had no excuse not to be at that class. And then once you got there, those professors were hungry to teach you, to unlock the power of your mind through education. Use the Wisconsin idea to do whatever it takes to create access. If it's one thing that, I'm going to talk about and that I'm passionate about, it's going to be access. So, you had to hear this speech. This speech was coming. But I just want to leave with one note, and that's just make sure that everyone in our state, right? What better way to invest in our state? The individuals that National Public Radio is speaking about, they're not leaving. They're here. and they're hungry, they're out there. We have to go and get them. And there's, I don't think, a better way to invest in our state, to invest in the young man that I talked about whose hand I shook. He's already starting businesses in the Milwaukee area, right? To imagine to go from incarceration to getting his master's and now starting businesses. What better way to invest in our state than in individuals like Michael Lowe and others that I mentioned? Find them, invest in them, and make a way to give them access to our great system. Thank you, people. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Corey. You know, now you see why Corey was so valuable to us. The passion, the drive, reminding us of those things which we should always have in the forefront, but sometimes forget. He always answered the call whenever I asked him to participate, and he participated fully, and he gave us his all. And you can't ask anything more of an individual than what Corey gave us. So well-deserved. Thank you, Corey. He's going to be a big success. Next, another great region. We need to recognize the many contribution and service of another one of our colleagues, Regent, Emeritus, and former Vice President of the Board, Michael Grebe. I'll call upon Regent Jones to present the board's resolution of appreciation for Michael's service to the UW system.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to make some introductory comments, but they'll be brief. They won't be long. Next, I want to welcome Mike Grebe and his son Trip, who are here, and I don't know where Mike is, but he's maybe closer to the stage. And when I realized that Trip was going to be here, I had to censor my remarks a little bit. I learned just an hour ago that I'm substituting here for Regent Atwell, who's taken ill. But I didn't have a chance to put anything really funny or really embarrassing together to introduce Mike. I can only say that I have known Mike for over 30 years. He was a young associate at Quarles and Brady when I was a young lawyer at Miller Brewing Company. For both of us, that was at least 20 pounds ago. Mike may be 30, I don't know, 25. A few years after we started our respective jobs, I became the general counsel of Miller Brewing Company, and Mike was the managing partner on our account. And I very, very much enjoyed bossing Mike around because I was effectively the boss. And so Trip, when you get the opportunity, do not hesitate to boss your dad around. He's accustomed to it. When I was driving over this morning, I came up with another anecdote. We both served on the infamous failed system president search committee a few years ago. We had a debrief with the committee after the smoke had cleared and everything was over. And at that meeting, Chancellor Blank said, the only good thing that is going to come out of this disaster is that no one will ever ask us to serve on search committee again. And Mike and I looked at each other and said, that's good with me. I'm good with that. That said, Mark Grebe is a great and talented person. He's very smart and very fair. He's a man of unimpeachable integrity. His selfless service to the UW system over the last 7 years is a thing to behold. He has been a model regent and a model person. I'm fortunate to be able to call him my very good friend. With that said, let me read the resolution. Whereas Michael M. Grebe has served the citizens of Wisconsin with distinguished leadership during his 7 years on the University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents from 2015 to 2022, including 2 years as board vice president from 2019 to 2021. And whereas Michael has eloquently championed advancing excellence, affordability, and accessibility within the UW system, with an emphasis on enabling the UW system to use taxpayer dollars and other resources as efficiently as possible for an excellent return on investment for UW students and the broader community. And whereas Michael has shown his commitment to the UW system's tradition of sound stewardship and financial preparedness through his service as chair and vice chair of the audit committee and as a member of the business and finance committee, serving on both for 4 years. Michael served on numerous other standing committees, including education, capital planning and budget, student discipline, and student appeals, the Personnel Matters Review Committee, the Special Region Committee on Governance Issues, and chaired the 2019-20 UW System Presidential Search Committee, which I mentioned. Michael served on the Teaching Excellence Award Committee to shine a spotlight on the extraordinary teaching by the faculty and instructional staff within the UW system. And in 2021, served as the inaugural chair of the University Staff Excellence Award Committee to recognize exceptional performance among UW System's more than 8,000 university staff to support student success. Michael can personally attest to the quality of a UW education, having earned his law degree from the University of Madison Law School, which prepared him for an accomplished career as an attorney and a lifetime of civic engagement, as he generously donates his time and skills serving on many community boards. Be it therefore resolved that on behalf of the citizens of the state and a grateful university community, the University of Wisconsin System Board of Regents highly commends Regent Michael M. Grebe for his leadership and achievements as a vice president and a member of the UW Board of Regents. Oh.
So, at the last meeting, somebody asked me in the hallway what I thought had changed the most during my 7 years on the Board of Regents, and I wasn't sure at the time. Now I think it's fair to say 7 years ago, this sport coat fit me much better than it does today. Thank you, Mike. That was very nice. Thank you. In the past, these valedictory remarks have sometimes been very memorable. When regents have discussed controversial topics, shared poignant memories, or in the case of Chuck Pruitt, rhapsodized about the chicken pot pie served at Van Nuys Hall. Only a few of you will understand that reference. I expect my remarks to be more like virtually every commencement address we've ever heard, resembling what Abraham Lincoln said at Gettysburg. I'm confident you will all little note nor long remember what I say here, so instead of trying to be memorable, I'll try to be brief. Probably the best part of being a regent is getting to meet remarkable people whose paths you would otherwise never cross, and then watching, learning, and listening to them. I've been fortunate to have that chance repeatedly over the last 7 years, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful to Jan Mueller for being a beacon of integrity. I'm grateful to Jerry Whitburn for being a good counselor. I'm grateful to Mark Bradley and Jose Delgado for showing how to maintain your principles and disagree without being disagreeable. I'm grateful to Margaret Farrow just for being Margaret Farrow. I'm grateful to Jess Lathrop for her dedication and diligence. I'm grateful to Tommy Thompson for taking on a tough role when he was needed. I'm grateful to Lori Stortz for her consummate professionalism. I'm grateful for the leadership of our chancellors. And I'm also very grateful to Drew Peterson for being a good friend. That list could go on for a very, very long time. But as I was reflecting on my time on the board, I kept thinking about 4 people. And I'd like to share briefly why I'm grateful to them. First, and perhaps not for obvious reasons, is Scott Walker. It's a great privilege, honor, and responsibility to be appointed as a regent, and I'm grateful that Governor Walker trusted me with this role. But more than that, I'm grateful that he permitted me to serve independently, respecting my judgment enough to never interfere with my ability to exercise that judgment. The nature of the university as a public institution means that it's essential for the board to engage respectfully with elected officials who, after all, to channel Bob Atwell, are elected by their constituents and have valid roles to play in connection with the university. It's important that the Regents listen to them, but it's equally important that they listen to the Board of Regents. I'm grateful, for example, to Governor Walker's team for listening to a quiet request that differential tuition be extended to Stevens Point at a time when that was not particularly consistent with the political landscape. Communication between the university and elected officials must be a dialogue, not a set of dueling monologues. But while we must engage with political actors, we must also remember that necessarily and understandably, they have competing goals and motivations. We have one, the well-being of the University of Wisconsin. Our independence in that common purpose is paramount. When we engage with political leaders and when they ask us to take action, whether we're aligned with them or not, regardless of which side of the aisle they come from, we should always and only ask one question: what do I believe is in the best interest of the University of Wisconsin? I'm grateful to Scott Walker for permitting me to make that the only question I ever had to answer. The second person I'm grateful to is a former regent for personal reasons that aren't really related to any formal, aspect of my board experience. As some of you know, Kelly and I have had 4 children. Our third son, Griffin, is a high school sophomore. And our older son, Trev, is set to graduate next year from UW-Madison. At least he better graduate next year from UW-Madison. Our other 2 sons passed away at young ages as a result of a rare and debilitating genetic condition. Our second son, Bridger, was born in 2001 and died in 2010. Our fourth son, Essex, was born in 2008 and died in October 2015. I'd only been appointed to the board in June of that year, and by the time of Essex memorial service, had only attended a couple of meetings. At one point, as we were greeting people before the service, I looked up the aisle and saw my new Regent colleague, Tim Higgins, walking toward me. He was joined, as I recall, by Regina Milner and Ray Cross. Like many experiences in life, the significance of that moment didn't strike me until much later. Up until that point, Tim and I had probably spent less than 10 minutes in one another's company. And yet he took the time to drive down from Appleton that day to the service so he could spend 30 seconds with me in a time of need. And the only reason he was there is because we were fellow regents. Being a regent is a privilege and an honor, but it can also be very hard. The issues before the board are challenging and have serious consequences for real people. Now, nobody should feel sorry for us. And in point of fact, absolutely nobody does feel sorry for us. But taking on this role and entering the arena also means subjecting yourself to criticism, sometimes harsh, sometimes fair, sometimes not, sometimes public, sometimes behind your back, and occasionally from people you respect, from close friends, and from family members. Those of us who sit around this table, sharing a common purpose, have an obligation to treat one another well, to treat one another fairly and with respect, to get to know one another, and to be kind to one another, regardless of whether we agree or disagree on any particular issue, and perhaps especially when we disagree. Kindness is not weakness, and the imperative to be kind, compassionate, and fair should not rise or fall depending on whether someone agrees with us or thinks like us or is someone we otherwise deem worthy. This board is healthier, and we are healthier when we share that sense of compassion for one another. It makes our ability to work together stronger, and it makes our ability to disagree with one another less catastrophic. It serves as an example for everyone watching of how public servants can maintain civil relationships in an environment where that seems all but impossible to imagine. So I'm grateful to Tim Higgins, along with Regina and Ray, for his kindness that October afternoon, his thoughtfulness in the months after, and for being a role model of a compassionate colleague. Some of the people we're fortunate to meet as regents include many of our thoughtful campus leaders, chancellors like Andy Levitt, Deb Ford, among many others, but also people like Betsy Morgan and Rob Dukoff. I'm grateful to the two of them for a few reasons, but one in particular, for disagreeing with me and for telling me exactly why they thought I was wrong. When most of us join the board, we have limited experience in higher education. It may be limited to that of being a student or being a parent of a student, which is fine. We're a board of regents, not a board of experts. But that means we ought to listen to people who are experts and listen to people who disagree with us. That takes time and effort, and it requires people who are willing to engage with us in good faith. I deeply appreciate the fact that Betsy and Rob respected me enough to engage in a discussion of why they thought I was wrong. Not everyone does that, certainly not in a direct and respectful manner. When people like Betsy and Rob are willing to approach us, and when we approach one another, we should listen with enough humility to recognize that it is at least possible that our minds could be changed by what someone else says. That's not to suggest that principles should be malleable, and it may be that your mind isn't changed, or even that your views become even more firmly entrenched after listening to someone who disagrees with you. But what we think today may not be what we think tomorrow, and in an institution that purports to value civil and open discourse, we owe one another that respect. Finally, to paraphrase John Stuart Mill, you can never be certain of your own beliefs if you're not willing to listen to someone who disagrees with you and be able to articulate why you still hold on to your position. Our university's great admonition that we're compelled to engage in the sifting and winnowing of knowledge to find truth applies not only to our academic enterprise, but it applies to our work as regents as well. I'm grateful to Betsy and Rob for pushing me toward a better understanding of my role as a regent. Finally, I want to express my gratitude to a grade school student I met at UW-Eau Claire during a regent meeting there early in my tenure. I'm not going to share her name. At that meeting, Chancellor Schmidt arranged for us to meet with students who were part of the Blue Gold Beginnings program, which aims to inspire underrepresented, low-income, or first-generation students to believe that a college education is important, attainable, and available. During the afternoon of the Thursday meeting, each member of the board had the chance to spend time with a student in the program to talk about their hopes and aspirations and share how a college education might help them achieve their goals. When I arrived at my seat Friday morning, I found a handwritten note from the young girl I met, thanking me for my time and describing her dreams of a college education. I kept that note in my drawer as a reminder of why we devote our energy to our roles as regents. It isn't or shouldn't be for personal benefit, for notoriety or acclaim, or for political ends. It's to preserve and enhance opportunities for the countless people who look to our university, their university, as a way to achieve their goals and attain happiness and prosperity, and in so doing, to advance the interest of our state. I'm grateful to that young student and Chancellor Schmidt for providing a living example of the purpose of the university and our role as regents. As a very quick aside, in her note to me, My Dreams, she said her goals and the reason she wanted a college education was to be a veterinarian. And if she couldn't be a veterinarian, she wanted to be a nurse, pediatrician, or dentist. I would love to meet this young woman again for so many reasons, but among them, I want to know if she still likes dogs more than people. As I thought about meeting that student in Eau Claire, I stumbled across one more memory, the memory of Professor Matthew Rowlandson, and I hope you'll indulge me for just a moment longer. During my freshman year in college, I decided to be a government major. During my sophomore year, I decided to add economics as a second major. In the summer between my sophomore and junior year, my school had a mandatory summer term, and to that point, I'd never taken an English class. For reasons I don't recall, I signed up for English 5, possibly motivated more by a classmate-related interest than an academic interest. English 5 was Introduction to Literary Criticism. As any provost will appreciate, Introduction to Literary Criticism is not where English majors are made. It's where English majors go to die and be resurrected as business majors. In English 5, you don't read literature. You don't read analysis of literature. You read analysis of literature. It's more than a little derivative. But Professor Rowlinson lit a spark in me that summer that turned into an English major. When I told my father that I was switching from an economics major to an English major, I might describe his enthusiasm as muted. Professor Rowlinson was generous with his time that summer, always welcoming me to office hours. He was nurturing with his teaching, encouraging me to develop my own approach to literature. And he was patient, answering my naive and sometimes literally sophomoric questions, especially on the afternoon he tried to explain Marxist literary criticism to me. I think we both failed that day. He led me down a path that changed the way I read, which changed the way I encounter language, which changed the way I think, which changed my life in a pretty profound way. I'm really grateful to him for what he gave me that summer. So why am I wasting your time with this self-indulgent story that has absolutely nothing to do with the University of Wisconsin? It's not particularly special. Or maybe better said, it is special, but it's not particularly unusual. That same spark that Professor Rowlinson ignited in me is lit by faculty members across our campuses every single day, creating a glow that illuminates our entire state. Our dedicated faculty inspire students to achieve, grow, and realize their potential, supported by the leadership of our chancellors and their teams, and nurtured by the oversight of the Board of Regents. Like each of you sitting around the table, my hope is that I was able to contribute in some small way to keeping that flame burning. I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to try, grateful to have been able to call all of you and your predecessors my colleagues, and I'm grateful to all of you for listening to me this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Grebe. I think you should know that it is not only obvious what a great speaker and intellect and feeling and caring this person has. It made him a great regent. And you don't know this, but in addition to serving on the committees and doing the searches and other things that were asked of him, Michael spent countless hours using his gifts on behalf of the board to unravel complex legal issues on behalf of the board, literally hundreds of hours on behalf of the system. And most people don't know that. Now you do, and you should have even more respect for him. So thank you, Michael. We are going to recognize Regent Emeritus Drew Peterson and Regent Tracy Klein at future meetings. You'll come back, right? You'll come back from Chicago and grace us with your presence. So now it's my turn to speak. So I'm going to stand up because I feel more comfortable doing that. First, thank you, Heather, for your work. Heather writes speeches and she makes me sound so good and at the commencements and a lot brighter than I really am. And so I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. It was a year ago that I determined that I should get involved in this very serious business that we're about. I took some questions from some of my colleagues that day, Regent Atwell, Hector, and I think in response to one of them, I recall saying that I was going to be more inclusive, that hope to work with all of us to bring us all together to do the work that we have to do to make the system work better. And, that's something that I really was interested in doing, more shared governance. I promised that we would do that. We worked hard on some of these things, and I think in the last 12 months, which I have to tell you was quite a ride for me, I think we've accomplished a lot together. And it's not one person. It's not a group of people. It's not the regents. It's not the chancellors. It's not the system experts and people that are there to assist. It's all of us. The only way we can be successful is if all of us put our resources, our great minds together to accomplish what we can accomplish for the state. So we did some things in the past 12 months. We expanded the policy on selecting chancellors and presidents of the system. It was more of a shared governance approach than had been used in the years prior to that. And it worked, and we were successful in getting who I believe are people that are able to lead us into the future, both at the Madison campus and here at the system with President Rothman. We provided a microphone to the chancellors. When I was here in my first term, the chancellors were always jumping up and giving us their 2 cents worth, which is actually was kind of entertaining in some instances, but most of the time was really helpful. And at some point, someone took your microphone away and determined that it wasn't useful, but it is. So that's why we put it back on the table and asked for your input. We need it. Part of us working together. Provost also speaking to us and telling us what we need to know. We also invited shared governance back to the table. Now, as usual, they're not here when I'm going to compliment them, but their voices are necessary also. And for some reason, they had been excluded. We brought them back. And that's a decision that Karen and I made. People from the system are experts, and they help us in many, many ways. It's a group effort. And so shared governance is important to me, and I believe we're back on track with that. We invited students to the meeting. Remember the Stevens Point meeting where we had all the students who were passionately speaking to us about sustainability and why it was important to them and their future, which it absolutely is. I loved hearing from them. I loved listening to them. I was amazed at some of their ability to speak and put together a story about why we should look more closely at sustainability on the campuses, because it was for their future and the future of other people to come after us. And I think we should do that more often. We should have more students come and speak to us about things that are important to them, because that's what we're doing this for, after all. I believe that we, under the leadership of former governor and past president Tommy Thompson, put up a good fight against COVID. But it wasn't just him. It wasn't just him. It was the chancellors and the campuses that got the students on board with the vaccination, that got the students on board and wearing masks, that kept the campuses open this last year. And we can all be proud of that. We all had a part of that. Like I said, it's not one person that accomplishes these things. It's the group of us. And so thank you, campuses, chancellors, and everybody at your facilities that got us through. And thank you to the students for being willing to jump on board with vaccinations and masks to allow us to be open for business the entire year. We formed a governance committee, and that was at the suggestion of Regent Klein, who thought that would be a good idea for us to talk about in a smaller group. Issues that related to policies that we may want to implement, or policies that we may want to expand, or that we may want to get rid of, because we are continuing to grow, and some of the things that were appropriate 20 years ago no longer are. So Regent Klein agreed to be the chair of that committee. And we had some good discussions, and we are going to continue that committee, I hope. We committed, because of that work, to EDI on all our campuses, so that we can be an example to the state, because we are the educating body of the state, so that we can show people that it's possible to implement these policies so that we are successful as an entire state, and that every group is important. And so I think that we should continue to do that in the future, and I know that we will, not just say it, but live it. One thing that was also very important to me that we as a group accomplished was the tribal consultation policy. Our sovereign nations have been here far longer than the state has, and they're within our borders. And they have students that need to be instructed, and they have students that need to go to our campuses. And many of them feel that that's not something that's in their future for some reason. We have to change that. And the only way we can do that is by working with those various sovereign nations and their governing bodies to ask them to assist us in helping that get accomplished. And I'm so happy that we're going to do that. That was through the work of Dr. Sassanea Jennings. That was through the work of Amy Bogus, who attended many of our listening sessions with the tribe, and I really appreciated that. We also talked to a lot of the members and convinced them that we really meant it this time, that we weren't just blowing smoke at them. And we do really mean it. Jess also was on those calls. Karen, we all listened. We all showed them that they were important enough, as they are, to listen to and to be partnering with on that very, very important issue. I think that we have something coming up next month, and then the very first meeting where we consult is going to be in the fall, as I believe it. So this has been a very successful year for us, not me, a successful year for us. And it is going to continue because we have to work at this as a relationship. We have to talk to each other openly and transparently, and we have to tell each other, as Mike Grebe said, when we're wrong and why, and we have to be able to listen to that and accept it, not as in a personal attack, but as in a way to assist us all as a group in getting better, to making the system better. And I think that we're on the way to doing it. But like any other relationship, we have to keep working at it. We can't just say we're going to do it, have a couple good meetings, a couple laughs, and then go back to the same old way of doing things. We have to be transparent. Chancellors could say board members don't know anything about what's going on. Well, that's true. That's because no one told us. So we want to know. You want to tell us? We want to know. We want that conversation, that back and forth to occur, just like we want the system to talk to us, to tell us what their thoughts are, so that we can do a better job of implementing policies and implementing programs that help the system get better and better. And I know that we can do that. I mean, I'm so impressed with what we're doing so far and so hopeful that it's going to continue. And now that we have President Rothman on board, who spends more time listening than he does talking, which to me is a good sign, we're going to accomplish some really, really fine things for the state. All the things that Corey spoke about, all the things that you heard this campus talk about regarding underprivileged people, or people that play athletics that are somehow in other institutions not allowed to major in certain majors because they're on the basketball team. My God, I mean, that changes here, and that's got to change everywhere else, because we're for the students and they're important to us, and that's our goal, is to have them be successful. I want to thank a lot of people, a lot of groups. First of all, I want to thank all the chancellors and the system VPs for their hard work and their guidance in this past year. It's been invaluable to me. I want to thank the regents in this room for doing the work that you do, chairing committees, being on search committees, spending the time to read information, to go to listening sessions, to participate in debates and discussions and interviews that help the system hire our future leaders and get them in place so that we're sure that things are going to continue to work on a high level like they are. I know it's a lot to ask of you, because we're not paid, and we don't expect to be paid. We just expect to work hard and be appreciated for that. And I appreciate all of you. I want you to know that. I appreciate the fact that you all have other jobs. I appreciate the fact that you have other lives. I appreciate the fact that you put some of that aside occasionally to have emergency executive meetings or have emergency meetings of this board so that we can do things that have to be done quickly. I appreciate all the hard work that you do and all the time that it takes from your family and your other businesses. I really do appreciate it, but it's good work, and I thank you for it. I'd like to thank Tracy once again for the governance committee. That was a big deal. I want to thank Tracy for, as she calls it, being my wingman, because she was this past year. We had many conversations. I mean, I could be sitting there and I get a text from Tracy. Usually it was in the morning saying, "You got a minute to chat?" I always tried to do that. And it was always about something that she was worried about, that we had to talk about regarding something going on here at the system. And she always had great thoughts, suggestions, and a way of approaching problems that were very helpful. And so I thank you for that, Tracy. I want to thank Jess. Absolutely could not do this without Jess. Because not only is Jess a hardworking person, she's a very, very good person, which we all know. She cares about the system. She cares about each one of us. She cares about whether or not we do the right thing and whether or not we treat people the right way. And she really is an amazing resource. She's a historian about the system and what has happened in the past and the mistakes that were made. So maybe we can avoid them by hearing about it before we make those mistakes a second time. I think that if Jess had not worked hard with my legal assistant and protecting my professional calendar, that I would have been in serious trouble. And so Jess, you're amazing. I really thank you for all that you did regarding helping me get through this last year. So finally, thank Karen. Okay, Karen is the best vice president that I could have ever had. She's done a lot of the heavy lifting in our relationship now. She and I spoke a lot this past year. Always about something that was going on, always about something that we needed to talk about, find a solution to. Who would we also want to bring into the conversation? How could we either avoid a problem or head one off before it happened? Or how were we going to handle an issue about something that was going to take place? Karen loves the system. There's no one that's better prepared to be the president of the system than she is. And I'm saying that based upon what I know that has happened in the last 10 years at system. She is better prepared than anybody I've ever seen to take the lead position on this board. You know, amazingly to me, she volunteered to chair both the system search, presidential search, and the Madison chancellor search. Hours and hours of work, listening sessions, going to them, having them on the phone, going to campuses all over the system. Luckily, she has a plane. But that aside, it's a lot of hard work. And then listening to people who feel that because they may know you, they can give you their 2 cents worth. So you had to listen to a lot of information that you probably didn't want to hear, but you did it with grace and compassion and listen to people, which is the shared governance way. And so she gave her heart and soul to both of these searches. So thank you for that. The system owes you a great deal of gratitude for that. One other thing she did early on, because we were wanting to make sure, she and I, that we were going to have good relationship with the board, which wasn't, I didn't think, an issue and never really was, but to assure that it wasn't, Karen had opened her home to us, which I thought was a really good idea. Before board meetings, if they were in Madison, she opened her home to us, and we could go and talk to each other about anything except board business. That was a rule. That was a really good rule. So we met, we talked, we had a couple drinks, and we got to know each other, which I think was an important foundation for this year and going forward. So Karen, thank you for all you've done for the Regents. Thank you for what you've done for me. You've made this a really good year for me. I think that the foundation that all of us have had a hand in laying for the future is solid. And I think we can build on it, and I think we can make the system great. So really appreciate everybody in this room and what we did this last year. Thank you. Right, this is the event we've been waiting for all week, the annual election of officers of the board. The bylaws of the board specify that officers of the board are elected at the annual meeting held in June and hold their offices for 1 year until their successors are elected. Terms of office begin immediately after the June meeting. If there is only one nominee for an office, the election is by voice vote. And if there's more than one nominee for an office, the election is by ballot. Nominations are now in order for the office of board president. Regent Jones.
Thank you, Regent President Many-Deeds. It is my particular pleasure to nominate Regent Karen Walsh for president of the UW Board of Regents. I'm going to repeat some of the things that Ed just said because they're worth repeating and they bear repeating. And I'm going to say some things about Karen that she wouldn't say about herself because of her great humility. And I'm not so constrained. The energy and enthusiasm that Regent Walsh brings to the Board of Regents as a relentless champion for the UW system is perhaps the most obvious and visible reason she will make an excellent president. It is also the leadership she has demonstrated as a board member, including the past year as vice president, that positions her well to lead us forward. Since she was appointed to the board, she has crisscrossed Wisconsin with the goal of advancing our UW system. That has meant leading searches for chancellors, meeting with faculty, staff, and students, participating in advocacy events, and engaging in public ways about what is needed to strengthen the UW. It feels like she's been everywhere all the time. Most importantly, Karen has brought people together when collaboration and collegiality have been needed most. And this is time-consuming and challenging work. Most recently, she helped manage and lead the searches for our new system president and the new UW-Madison chancellor, critically important positions to the long-term success of the UW. She also helped build a leadership team throughout the UW system that is diverse and prepared to lead. I know of no other person more instrumental in building the team around us than her. And thus, it makes her well-suited to serve as our next president. For all these reasons and many more, I move a resolution to elect Regent Karen Walsh as the president of the UW System Board of Regents for a term of 1 year.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, so we're going to have a voice vote, correct? That's what I just said, didn't I? All those in favor of electing Karen Walsh as president of the board, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Regent Walsh. You've been elected president of the Board of Regents.
I'm going to stay right here because this mic is more familiar to me from my radio days. But most of you probably know that at some point in my life, I was a reporter, both for Wisconsin Public Radio and then also for UW-Madison. And for both of those entities, I covered the Board of Regents. So we're talking about 8 or 9 years that I spent with my tape recorder in 1820 Van Nuys Hall, stuck in the corner with the rest of the press. And, you know, being a radio reporter, there's no such thing as radio pictures. You must get tape. So in those days, you of course didn't interrupt a regent while he or she was at the table. So what I would do is at the start of the meeting, I would pick out 2 or 3 regents that I knew were passionate about an issue and were drinking a lot of coffee. And when they would get up to use the restroom, I would quietly slide out with my tape recorder and wait for them to come out of the appropriate restroom. I swear I never followed anybody into the restroom. And if anybody ever says that, they're just not telling the truth. And when they would emerge, they would have my microphone in their face, and they were so gracious. And, you know, unfortunately, due to the demise of most radio news, none of us have really had to experience a Karen Walsh with a mic in her hand, but never in that time did I ever think I would swap a microphone for that gavel. And I am blown away by your confidence in me, and I promise you I feel the weight and the responsibility of that gavel. All week there have been two people at the top of my mind. One is the late Joyce Erdman, and the other is Regina Milner. And why have I been thinking of them? Because since system was established in 1971, they were the only two women ever elected to lead this board. I am number 3. I owe them a tremendous debt of gratitude. And I also look forward to the day when something like what we've done today is unremarkable. And I think we will get there. Also, I hope we are about to make history. If we are successful electing the candidate I hope we are for vice president, it will be the first time in the history of this system that this board has been led by 2 women. And stop and think for a minute how extraordinary that is in higher education. We've made so many advances, and that was one hurdle we just never reached. And I'm proud to be a part of it. Everyone sitting at this table, I'm so fortunate to work with all of you. I swear to God, I don't care who appointed you. You're all smart, and I love working with you. To the chancellors, the provosts, everyone at System who's helped me, and especially the president I worked with in the last year. Ed has more patience in his little finger than I probably have in my entire being. I learned so much from him, and I'm warning him that his phone number will remain in my cell list. So thank you very much for your confidence in me. I will work hard every day to earn it.
Nominations are now in order for the office of vice president. You have a nomination. Miller.
Regent President Many Deeds, it is my honor to nominate Regent Amy Bogus for the office of Vice President. I've come to know Amy as a smart, diligent, and very active member of the Board of Regents. Amy approaches her role on the board with a hard work ethic, and her bonhomous nature make her an ideal colleague to work alongside with. During her tenure, Regent Bogus has immersed herself in all things UW and has volunteered for extra duty when opportunities were presented. The board would benefit from her careful and considered guidance. Above all, she cares deeply about the students and their experience at our universities, and that compassion should be a guiding force in our work. I move that the resolution to nominate Regent Amy Bogus to the office of Vice President.
Are there any other nominations? Seeing none. I guess we are doing this by voice vote again. I'm getting tongue-tied. Sorry about that. So all those in favor of electing Regent Bogus as vice president, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Amy, you're vice president.
Thank you so much. This is still President Regent Many Deeds, or former president, or as I usually like to say, President Regent Buddha. So often I greatly appreciate that you've talked me off the ledge, and I really appreciate mentorship this past year especially. I really also want to thank your kind words, Regent Miller, and all your support. I want to thank all of my Regent colleagues for having the confidence in me for this incredible privilege. I pledge to do my very, very best and try to keep up with President Walsh. That's going to be a very, very tough job. The amount of work and energy that she puts into this, that she's shown this last year, is just incredible. So I'm excited to be able to work closely with our new system president, Rothman. And the last 2 years have been such an incredible honor and privilege to serve with all of you, the chancellors, the provosts, the SSAOs, all the students, the faculty and staff. I pledge to continue to listen and learn and collaborate and do all that I can to really push the UW system forward. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Just made history? Great. Now we have the election of other officers or offices of the board, and these officers can be considered at one time or as a slate. The proposed officers are Megan Wasley, Corporate Secretary of the Board, Christian Bach, Assistant Secretary, Sean Nelson, Trust Officer, and Charles Saunders, Assistant Trust Officer. Is there a nomination to elect these officers?
So moved.
Second? We don't need a second. Any other nominations? Okay, since there are no others, we can do it by voice vote. All those in favor of electing the proposed officers as a slate, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great, they're all in place. All right, so now I believe we're done with the election portion of this and successful when it is. But now we have a resolution of appreciation for the campus that is hosting us. So I call upon Regent Bechtel to read a resolution of appreciation to UW-Milwaukee for hosting us.
Thank you, Regent, President, Many Deeds, and Ed. Just a point of privilege. Your leadership, your empathy, and intellect are admired by all of us. We thank you for your service. You're very kind. You're a good mentor. So thank you for everything you've done for us, very, very much. And Karen and Amy, congratulations. It's kind of fun to make history, isn't it? So, and chancellors, we love, as regents, we love coming to your campuses. Mark, you and your team did an outstanding job. So thanks for your hospitality. And like any good guest, we should leave after like a day and a half, right? So, whereas the members of the Board of Regents are pleased to recognize the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee as the official host campus for the board's June 2022 meeting. And the board is grateful for the generous hospitality extended by Chancellor Mark Money and the entire Panther community. And we realize it is a communal effort. And whereas the board appreciated hearing Chancellor Money's presentation, expanding UWM's impact, and applauds UWM's accomplishments in this area. And whereas the Business and Finance Committee, we were delighted to hear from Robin Van Harpen, the Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administrative Affairs, about how UW-Milwaukee is expanding its impact in investing in its future. And whereas the Research, Economic Development, and Innovation Committee, where all the action is, thanks Jennifer Abley, Senior Executive Director in the Office of Strategic Partnerships, for leading a presentation about the impact of innovative partnerships at UWM. Whereas the Capital Planning and Budget Committee learned more about the many ways that facilities matter here in UWM and their efforts to expand impact across the state. Whereas the Education Committee thanks Kay Eilers, the Associate Vice Chancellor for Enrollment Management, for providing an update on the university's student-centric framework. Whereas the board was pleased to receive UWM's annual NCAA Division Athletics report from Director Athletics Amanda Braun. And whereas board members were delighted to get a closer look at the diverse and vibrant programs offered by the UWM's Peck School of the Arts. And for those of you who weren't there last night, it was a marvelous reception. I personally was somewhat surprised when Regent Weatherly spontaneously joined the performing dance group. We took great delight, Regent Weatherly, with your very stylistic, graceful, and I thought thoughtful interpretive dance, reflecting the element of fire. So really, hats off to you on that. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Regents hereby thanks UW-Milwaukee for its in-depth presentations, forward-thinking spirit, and its many continued contributions to the UW system and to the great state of Wisconsin.
Adjourn, are there any regents who have any communications, petitions, or memorials to share? Kyle.
Very quickly, as I know we're all trying to get out of here, but I'd be remiss if I didn't share a short story about Ed that only takes about 30 seconds. So I called him about a year ago, and honestly, I don't remember what it was about, but I remember his response when I asked him if he was okay with me doing something. And he said, just do what you think is right. And I've come back to that a lot as I've sort of worked myself in circles, trying to think through issues on Regents in my business life and my personal life. But the clarity with which he advised me is what I always go back to. And I go back to it on a regular basis. So thank you for reminding me, much like Regent Grebe reminded me, about how we make decisions around here, how we should make decisions around here. And if I could just indulge you guys one more second, we give a lot of standing ovations around here. Ed hasn't gotten one yet, so if you won't mind.
Yes, we need a motion to adjourn. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you very much.